Chapter 1096. Should he agree or not? Qin Feng pondered. On the surface, he seemed to have the upper hand. Yi Ding, the worker, had come to him. The benefits of subduing Yi Ding were obvious. If nothing went wrong, Yi Ding would become a real demon god in the future. And not just any demon god. However, Qin Feng had his concerns. If it were Yi Ding in the past, he would definitely have subdued him. Now, Yi Ding had undergone a complete transformation. No one could be sure that Yi Ding had other tricks up his sleeves. In terms of cunning and treachery, Yi Ding was not inferior to Qin Feng at all. Below the main hall, Yi Ding was talking to Lady Kuan Peng in his body. Yi Ding, didn't we agree to give up a portion of the benefits? Why are you selling yourself? Lady Kuan Peng was puzzled. Lady Kuan Peng, you still don't understand. Do you think I'm doing this because of the Dark North Saint? Although the Dark North Saint is very important to me, I'm most worried about Gong Ao. Gong Ao borrowed too much of my providence. Based on my understanding of him, he will definitely kill me when he returns, regardless of whether he succeeds in seizing the Eastern Wilderness divine treasure. Yi Ding, you want to borrow Qin Feng's power to resist Gong Ao? Lady Kuan Peng was enlightened. This is only one of the reasons. My providence has been taken away by Gong Ao. If I don't kill him, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to prove my Tao in this lifetime. I'm not his match at all. I can only take back my providence with the help of others. Although there are a few people in the sect who can contend against Gong Ao, the only one who can borrow strength is Qin Feng. Yi Ding sighed. Are you so sure that Qin Feng will help you? Lady Kuan Peng was doubtful. He'll help me. He's a smart man. Gong Ao borrowed my luck, and there's a huge connection between us. Helping me is helping himself. If Gong Ao proves himself to be a demon god, the first person he'll kill will be Qin Feng. You, I, and even Qin Feng know very well that Gong Ao is extremely vicious and merciless. Even if Qin Feng has the slightest possibility of being a threat to him in the future, he will not hesitate to take action. Yi Ding spoke in his heart. Qin Feng thought to himself as he looked at the unusually respectful Yi Ding. Forget it. No matter what Yi Ding's intentions are, how can I let him escape once he has fallen into my hands? Moreover, if I can demonize him, it will absolutely be equivalent to demonizing a first-rate large sect. He thought so. Qin Feng said from his throne. Yi Ding, I promise you, I will personally seal the Dark North Holy Sun and give him to you. However, I also hope that you don't have any other thoughts. Otherwise, there's no friendship between the two of us. Thank you, junior brother. Yi Ding smiled. Get ready. Let's go. Qin Feng waved his hand and stood up from his throne. School Lord, are you going to the place where the human ancestor is sealed? Gongsun Junyang's expression changed. The sages in the hall looked at Qin Feng with slight anticipation. Qin Feng took in the expressions of the sages and shook his head. All right, I know what you're thinking, but I can't take you with me. I predict that after we leave, Xingchen School will face a great calamity. Later, go and inform your friends and family. It's best if they all come to Yunwu Mountain. I will set up a large array around Yunwu Mountain. This array should be able to ensure our safe return. Great calamity. The sage's expressions changed. Prepare well. At most, there will be a great change in a month. A day later, Qin Feng and Yi Ding appeared outside Yunwu Mountain. At this moment, Yunwu Mountain was shrouded in clouds and fog. Visible to the naked eye, the thick white fog spread toward Zhuzigua. Soon, the entire mountain range was shrouded in the thick fog. What a mysterious array! It can actually confuse one's divine consciousness. Above the sea of clouds, Yi Ding's expression changed. This is probably a level 7 array. What an incredible guy! He set up a level 7 array so casually. Kuan Peng lady exclaimed in her mind. With this formation, even if a 14th level supreme being were to come, it would be able to hold them off for several days. As for anyone below the 14th level Supreme Being level, if they were to enter Mount Yunwu, they would be bewildered by this formation and be unable to find their way out. Let's go. After glancing at Yi Ding, who was still in awe, Qin Feng took the lead and streaked across the sea of clouds. Yi Ding followed closely behind. On the mountain range of Yunwu Mountain, a beautiful figure watched the two figures disappear into the sea of clouds. She muttered, "School Lord, be careful." The boundless spirit region. This was a spirit region outside the 10 spirit region near the North Sea. It was adjacent to the extreme north snow region. At the same time, the entire boundless spirit region was connected to a part of the savage desolate spirit region. There were endless mountains here. Unlike ordinary regions, this place was like the southern border. It was a desolate land filled with all kinds of villages and tribes. The cities and civilizations seemed to have yet to be enlightened. There were many alien races here. The mulberry forest tribe. A huge purple mulberry tree covered the sky like a giant umbrella. The mulberry flowers were like a sea. Almost everyone in the boundless spirit region knew about the mulberry forest tribe. Although it wasn't a first-rate force, it was still a top-notch second-rate force. In the village of the mulberry forest tribe, the current head of the tribe was receiving a few important guests. A delicate and soft voice sounded. "Chewing, I didn't expect your luck to be so good. You actually reincarnated in the mulberry forest tribe. Your starting point is so high. How enviable." A second-rate force that dominates over 100,000 miles. With so much fate energy gathered, just this harvest alone is invaluable. Not to mention the ancient mulberry tree in the mulberry forest tribe. If it was offered to the Jade Parasol Sovereign, it would be worth at least tens of thousands of merit points. In the hall of the village, 3 youths sitting on both sides didn't hide their envy at all. On the throne, a young expert with exceptionally handsome features, fiery red hair, and an aquiline nose smiled. Long Ying, Zhang Xiai, Li O, the 3 of you aren't bad either. You've almost recovered your 14-star evaluations. At the side, a purple-clothed, delicate and charming woman smiled faintly. Isn't that so? If we still can't recover our 14-star evaluations, wouldn't the experts of the Jade Parasol Sovereign Space be useless? Zhang Xiai sighed. This mission is no small matter. Every sovereign space has dispatched their best teams of reincarnators. There are so many 15-star experts here that it's ridiculous. To be honest, 14-star experts like us might die if we're not careful. On the other side, a young man in blue frowned and said with displeasure, "Die? It's not easy to find a main continent with a deity position. This is an extremely rare opportunity. Right, the great Eastern Wilderness Emperor's divine treasure is about to appear. Are we going to fight for it or not?" After saying that, the young man in blue looked at the 3 of them and muttered, "I personally suggest that we give up on this opportunity for now and focus on attacking Xingqian School with the other reincarnators from the sovereign space. We'll destroy Xingqian School." Chapter 1097. In the hall, Liu glanced at his 3 teammates. Although the Eastern Wilderness Divine Treasure is extremely valuable, it's much easier to destroy Xingqian School than to seize it. The Eastern Wilderness Divine Treasure has not only attracted many native experts, but also a few top teams from the Creator's dimension. With our strength, we may not be able to take advantage of those top experts. Liu's opinion is also my opinion. Why don't we take a step back and settle for the next best thing? Zhang Xiai was a white-haired youth. His face was ruddy, and his white clothes were clean and neat. However, his eyes were like ancient glaciers, filled with silence. Long Ying nodded with a solemn expression. The Star Sect is an extremely terrifying sect. Every one of the 72 mysterious sects has an extremely strong foundation. Even if we want to attack them, it will be extremely dangerous. However, for us now this is indeed the best method. If we are able to occupy a portion of the fate in the domain of myriad stars, we will be able to advance to rank 15 naturally. The three looked at Chu Ying. As the team leader, Chu Ying's opinion was undoubtedly important. Chu Ying closed his eyes and muttered to himself. Then, he opened his eyes and a ray of divine light flashed. Okay, I agree. The three could not help but sigh in relief. However, Chu Ying changed the topic. However, we are not going to fight for territory. All of you should know that our sovereign God is especially fond of wood elemental spiritual roots, and the price is also quite good. In the past, we will not compete with other experts for spiritual items or cultivation method. We will focus on various spiritual roots and spiritual herbs. Of course. Everyone nodded. Half a day later, they began to rush to the domain of stars. Not only this team of reincarnators, but many teams of reincarnators hidden in the various prefectures of the Spirit Sea continent also rushed to the domain of stars. Junior brother Qin Feng, are you going in the wrong direction? Above the sea of clouds, looking at the boundless sea of clouds around them, Yi Ding held back at first, but when he saw the breeze pavilion flying further and further away, he could not help but ask. Yi Ding had already inquired about the location of the human ancestors' prison. It was in an ancient canyon in the domain of stars, and Qin Feng was flying in the direction of the Crimson Flame spirit realm. This was the complete opposite of his goal. The human ancestors' prison isn't in this direction. We'll reach the Crimson Firmament Sword Sect's territory. That's right, we're going to the Scarlet Firmament Sword Sect's territory. In front, Qin Feng's indifferent voice could be heard amidst the howling wind. This. While flying, Yi Ding's face was filled with doubt. Junior brother Qin Feng, are you going to give up on the Eastern Wasteland divine treasure? Yi Ding had some guesses on his face. He did not understand what Qin Feng was trying to do. He suddenly ran to the Scarlet Flame spirit region for no reason. Could it be that Qin Feng is up to something again? Yi Ding thought to himself. When it came to Qin Feng, Yi Ding had never been afraid to use the most malicious guesses. The two of them shuttled through the void at an extremely fast speed. Half a day later, a fiery red cloud appeared in front of them. Since entering the Scarlet Flame spiritual domain, the temperature in the air had increased a lot, but now it had reached a very hot point. However, this bit of temperature was naturally nothing to Yi Ding and Qin Feng. With a flash of light, the two of them stopped above the sea of clouds and looked at the horizon. Looking from afar, the clouds on the horizon spread out like a sea of flames. Amidst the fiery red clouds, an inconceivable volcano appeared before everyone's eyes. It seemed to be a huge volcano that supported the heaven and earth. From afar, they could feel that the fire attribute energy there was so dense that it was boiling. The Scarlet Flame Extreme Spirit Volcano. It was the largest volcano in this region, and it was also the most famous fire attribute saint realm. The Scarlet Flame Spirit region was very unique and was known as the 100,000 volcanoes. However, in reality, in the eyes of many true powerhouses, the Scarlet Flame Spirit region only had one volcano, and that was the Scarlet Flame Extreme Spirit Volcano. In the Scarlet Flame Spirit region, basically all the volcanoes originated from the ancestral vein under the Scarlet Flame Extreme Spirit Volcano. Yi Ding looked at Qin Feng beside him with a somewhat bewildered expression. As everyone knew, that was where the Scarlet Firmament Sword Sect of the 72 Mysterious Sects was located. What a great place! Such a dense fire attribute spiritual mountain blessed land. Many of the fire attribute spiritual veins under the ground have already evolved into fire dragon veins, and under the Scarlet Flame Extreme Spirit Volcano, there's probably a top-notch red dragon ancestral vein. Looking at the towering and majestic volcano in the distance, Qin Feng's expression was full of admiration. Yi Ding frowned. Junior brother Qin Feng, Qin Feng chuckled and glanced at Yi Ding. Don't be nervous. The Eastern Wilderness Divine Treasury is the human ancestor prison. Since it's a prison, it's hard for people outside to enter, and it's also hard for people inside to come out. Why don't we take advantage of this opportunity to play? Qin Feng tilted his head and looked at the huge volcano in the distance. Yi Ding was silent for a moment and said, Do you want to do your best to eliminate threats for Xingqian School before entering the human ancestor prison? At this moment, Yi Ding had a whole new level of respect for Qin Feng. However, he didn't agree. It's useless. Although the Crimson Firmament Sword sect isn't a top-notch first-rate sect, they aren't weak. I'm afraid there's definitely a Stage 15 expert suppressing them. With the power of the Blessed Land, even if you once defeated the Stage 15 Sacred Sun Dark North, you might not be able to win. Qin Feng glanced at Yi Ding. You're thinking too much. Do you think I'm stupid? With his own strength, he can fight against a first-rate sect by himself. Yi Ding said indifferently. Then how are you going to do it? If you want the Crimson Firmament Sword sect to be unable to threaten Xingqian School, you have to detonate this Crimson Spirit volcano. Yi Ding chuckled. It was impossible to detonate the Crimson Spirit volcano. The Crimson Firmament Sword sect had been immersed in the Crimson Spirit volcano for countless years, and it had long been built like an iron wall. Even if a fire elemental godfiend came, he wouldn't be able to move this Crimson Spirit volcano. Of course, I won't detonate the volcano. That would be equivalent to perishing together. If 100,000 earth veins were to explode, I'm afraid the laws of heaven and earth would directly descend and send down heavenly punishment. Qin Feng chuckled. I, Qin Feng, am not so noble as to sacrifice myself for the sect. A strange light flashed in Qin Feng's eyes. In fact, according to the records of the Fiend God Divergent Calendar, this was how the Crimson Firmament Sword sect was destroyed. However, it wasn't because someone had triggered the volcano. It was because there was a Stage 15 True God Fire Phoenix inside the volcano. When that phoenix was born, it was completely wiped out by the Crimson Firmament Sword sect. It was rumored that the pure-blooded phoenix was the egg of a true phoenix, the direct descendant of the primordial Phoenix Empress. However, it was discovered by the Crimson Firmament Sword sect's martial ancestor while it was being nurtured in the Crimson Spirit volcano. It was then trapped and sealed, and it had been suppressed by the Crimson Firmament Sword sect in the Crimson Spirit volcano all this time. Its intelligence was trapped, its blood essence was extracted, and it was enslaved. It was treated like a meat donkey, and its meat was constantly being cut. What Qin Feng wanted to do now was to release that true phoenix. Chapter 1098. With the terrifying true phoenix that had been imprisoned for countless years and was in a half-crazy state, the Crimson Firmament Sword sect wouldn't have the energy to cause trouble in the realm of stars. Wait for me here and wait for my news. Glancing at Yi Ding, Qin Feng's figure changed, turning into a supreme inner demon, and quietly flew toward the Crimson Firmament Sword sect's mountain gate. Crimson Firmament Sword sect, in the Fire Spirit Divine Palace. Most of the experts of the Crimson Firmament Sword sect were gathered together, fiercely debating. Everyone, in my opinion, when our Crimson Firmament Sword sect invades the realm of stars, our first target should be the huge precious spiritual mines of Xingqian School. The biggest spiritual mines near the Wild New District produce almost 2/3 of the spiritual ores and spiritual materials of Xingqian School every year. Those are the most precious things. As everyone knows, our Crimson Firmament Sword sect's life paradise is the most special. It doesn't need spiritual roots or spiritual herbs. As long as there are various ores and mineral veins, it can rapidly evolve. The aura of this red-robed elder was very tyrannical. Obviously, he was a very powerful figure in the Crimson Firmament Sword sect. His words resonated with many powerhouses. Venerable Crimson Cloud is right. We should temporarily put those spiritual herbs and spiritual roots of Xingqian school aside and set our main target on those spiritual minds. That's reasonable. Many experts chimed in. At this moment, another voice that was different from the others in the hall sounded. This old man thinks that we can't give up on spiritual herbs and spiritual root. As Senior Brother Crimson Cloud said, our Crimson Firmament Sword sect is only good at refining tools, not pills. But this is because of the special environment of our Crimson Flame spirit domain. There are the most fire attribute spiritual mountains, and the other attribute spiritual mountains are too few. Ordinary spiritual herbs and spiritual roots can't survive. But if we can snatch those spiritual mountains of Xingqian school, this problem will be completely solved. Then, there were others who echoed. The atmosphere in the Crimson Firmament Sword sect was very lively, as if the realm of stars had become a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be divided. An elder suddenly said, "What about the Eastern Wilderness Divine Treasure? Are we going to sit and watch other sects take it?" "Yes, we can't give up on the Eastern Wilderness Divine Treasure either. The Eastern Wilderness Divine Treasury contains a lot of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor's collection. Treasures that could catch the eye of someone like the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor must be extremely precious. And the legacy of the Great Emperor of the Eastern Wasteland, the Emperor's hidden dragon position." Many elders' eyes were burning with passion. Greed overflowed. In the center, on the flame-like throne, the Crimson Firmament sect master's expression was indifferent, not moving at all. When an old antique saw this, he immediately stepped forward and reprimanded loudly. "All right, quiet down. What's with the noise? Do you think the Fire Spirit Divine Palace is a wet market?" As soon as these words were spoken, the entire Fire Spirit Divine Palace instantly fell silent. Seeing this, the old antique immediately added, "Why don't you take a look at your own cultivation bases and strength? Do you really think you're qualified to compete with those fifth-order gods or demi-immortals for the Eastern Wasteland's godly treasures?" He glanced at the elders whose expressions had changed slightly. Many of the elders disagreed. He sneered. "Most of you think you're lucky, right? But why don't you think about it? Even if you're lucky enough to obtain some treasures, do you have the life to enjoy them?" As soon as these words were spoken, many experts who were secretly unwilling to accept the fact that they were lucky fell silent. "All right, the Eastern Wasteland's godly treasures will naturally be fought for by the sect's experts. What you need to do is to gather the disciples, gather the various sects, and the boorish wasteland's demon clans. Together, we'll attack the various kingdoms, empires, and even the spiritual mountains and blessed lands of Xingqian school. We'll completely uproot the Xingqian school. I'd like to know who can represent our Crimson Firmament Sword sect." Suddenly, the temperature outside the Fire Spirit Divine Palace rose by several fold. The extremely high temperature made the void sizzle as if it was on fire. Amidst the countless flames, a flowing light that looked like lava flew down from outside the palace gate. Body turned into fire, Fire Spirit Taoist physique. It's the Fire Spirit King, an old antique of the Crimson Firmament Sword sect from the ancient times. He's actually still alive. Rumor has it that he obtained a trace of the primordial immortal fire god's inheritance and cultivated an immortal fire spirit body. However, in the primordial times, he fell in the hands of a peerless demon god of the sea race. I didn't expect him to be resurrected. The fluctuation is far beyond the 14th level Supreme Realm. This Fire Spirit King has advanced to the 15th level. Immemorial Fire Spirit Scripture, 9 transformations, 9 nirvanas. Generally speaking, 9 nirvanas is the limit. He actually surpassed the limit and succeeded in 10 nirvanas. He advanced to the 15th level Middle Celestial Realm in one go. I'm afraid he's only one step away from the Greater Celestial Realm. Many old antiques were shocked. As the fiery light rushed over, their expressions changed drastically. They retreated rapidly, making a path for this overbearing existence. So it's the Fire Spirit Patriarch who has come out of seclusion. At such an important moment, the Fire Spirit Patriarch has come out of seclusion. It can be said that it's a joyous occasion for our Crimson Firmament Sword sect. On the flame-like throne in the center, the Crimson Firmament Sword sect's leader stood up with a laugh. It seems that the heavens are blessing our Crimson Firmament Sword sect. This time, the end of Xingqian school has arrived. The Fire Spirit King frowned. Just as he was about to speak, his expression changed. Boom! The Fire Spirit Divine Palace under his feet suddenly trembled violently. The entire ground seemed to be shaking. Screech! An explosive and crazy phoenix cry that seemed to have come from hell rang out. In the main hall, many experts felt a terrifying heat that was as hot as the sun being born from the palace. The next moment, boom! It was as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. The Fire Spirit Divine Palace shattered. A terrifying pillar of magma shot up from the depths of the earth and instantly drowned the experts in the Fire Spirit Divine Palace, whose faces had changed drastically. Who let that phoenix go? The Fire Spirit King's face was twisted to the extreme. Amidst the raging flames, a huge flaming divine claw grabbed at his real body, instantly grabbing him. As his vision turned black, his body was instantly engulfed by a bird's beak formed from flames. The 15th level Fire Spirit King died instantly. In the center of the crimson magma, there seemed to be a terrifying and huge sun. In the sun, there was an extremely beautiful creature venting its crazy anger without restraint. Compared to this phoenix, Dongfang Yu's divine phoenix body was like a little chick. The intense fire law made it seem like a second sun in the sky. Rumble! The earth trembled. In an instant, thousands of volcanoes erupted. An extremely spectacular scene appeared on the ground. Thousands of pillars of fiery red magma erupted from the volcano's crater, illuminating hundreds of thousands of miles of land. The entire Crimson Firmament Sword sect's entrance was like a sand tower blown by the wind. The sacred ground shook, and countless disciples wailed in fear and grief. Above the sea of clouds, Yi Ding looked at this scene with a shocked expression. From time to time, he would look at the huge crimson sun in the sky that exuded a terrifying majesty. You already knew that there was a Phoenix King under the Crimson Flame Extreme Spirit Volcano? Yi Ding turned around and looked at Qin Feng, who had appeared in the sea of clouds without him knowing. Chapter 1099. Let's go to the next place. Qin Feng didn't directly answer Yi Ding. Instead, his figure flashed and disappeared. The corner of Yi Ding's mouth slightly twitched. This Qin Feng was really good at causing destruction. Not only was he passionate, but he was also filled with great destructive power. Before leaving, he glanced at the Crimson Firmament Sword sect. This time, even if the Crimson Firmament Sword sect wasn't destroyed, it would at least be crippled. The two disappeared above the sea of clouds. In the distance, the intense crimson sun soon turned pitch black. Extremely dense devil flames were emitted, and a crazy black-clothed woman full of demonic nature appeared in the magma. Her legs were slender, her figure was extremely sexy, and her appearance was extremely seductive. This was an extremely mature and beautiful woman. This was especially true for the faintly discernible black veil on her body and the burning pitch-black devil flames. Her extremely seductive charm had been magnified to the extreme, causing one to wish that they could swallow her whole. The power of the devil Tao. The beautiful woman's crazy phoenix eyes occasionally carried a trace of coldness as she muttered. She seemed to have seen the two departing figures. Her gaze turned and fell on the Crimson Firmament Sword sect's location. In the next moment it turned into crazy resentment and hatred. A phoenix cry that resounded throughout the world erupted. A pitch-black devil phoenix wrapped in pitch-black flames fell towards the crimson firmament sword-sex mountain gate like a huge sun. Boom! A shocking flame erupted from the crimson flame extreme spirit volcano. The surrounding 10,000 miles shook. Many creatures looked at the crimson flame extreme spirit volcano in shock. Amidst the loud noise, the entire crimson flame extreme spirit volcano was on the verge of collapse. Many experts were sweating profusely. The Crimson Flame Extreme Spirit Volcano was the center of the entire Crimson Flame Spirit domain. Once it erupted, it would be terrible. What's going on with the Crimson Firmament Sword sect? At this moment, many experts were inwardly puzzled. Among them were several experts from the demon race who happened to be not far from the Crimson Flame Spirit domain. Black wind whistled and black clouds rolled. These experts from the demon race came from the demon god temple in the wilderness. They were the emissaries sent by the demon gods to contact the Crimson Firmament Sword sect in the Crimson Flame Spirit domain. Who would have thought that they would encounter such a big scene as soon as they entered the Crimson Flame Spirit domain? The Crimson Flame Extreme Spirit Volcano was about to explode. The brows of the demon commanders twitched. What do we do now? With that demon phoenix around, I'm afraid we won't be able to get close to the Crimson Flame Extreme Spirit Volcano. I won't be able to complete the mission given by the demon gods. A demon commander with bull horns said in a low and muffled voice. Are you stupid? With such a terrifying demonic phoenix there, do you want to throw your life away? A demonic marshal with a muscular body like a black tower glanced at Oxhead demonic marshal with a face full of disdain. Bull demons were brainless. Who's an idiot? Old Yellow Ox, F***CK your mother. Speak clearly. Do you want to fight? The purple-eyed Minotaur demon commander widened its eyes as if it had been insulted. Its anger soared to the sky, and its huge fists were ready to punch. The demon commander from the Earth Yellow-Eyed Ox Devil Clan shrunk his neck. If they really fought, the Earth Yellow-Eyed Ox Devil Clan wouldn't be a match for the Purple-Eyed Ox Devil King Clan. At the side, another demon commander who looked like a dog-headed military advisor shouted. That's enough. You're all from the Ox race, and you're all from the Royal race. There's no need to fight amongst yourselves. The dog-headed demon commander pulled the two back and said, Now that the Crimson Firmament Sword sect is done for, our plan is to immediately return to the wilderness and report the situation here to the demon gods. The dog-headed demon commander looked very excited. However, he thought to himself, I have to immediately bring these two violent maniacs back. The Golden Crow and Fire Phoenix Imperials have always been eyeing the Crimson Flame Spirit region. This time, the Crimson Firmament Sword sect's strength has been greatly damaged. Perhaps this is an opportunity. If I can sell this information to the two Imperials, I might be able to get a lot of good things. His heart was burning with eagerness, and his face became increasingly impatient. Dragging the two Ox Demon commanders, the group hurriedly returned to the wilderness. Eastern Spirit Region. In the 10 spirit regions, the Eastern Spirit Region could be said to be the leader of the 10 spirit regions. Regardless of whether it was the territory or the spirit region, the number of martial experts was at the top. Only the Savage Spirit Region could be compared to the Eastern Spirit Region. The Eastern Spirit Region was the territory of Xingqian School's greatest enemy, the Heaven and Earth sect. I'm afraid that the entire Eastern Spirit Region accounts for more than 40% of the 10 Spirit Regions' outstanding Spirit Region. Compared to the Eastern Spirit Region, whether it's the Realm of Stars, Qi Yen Spirit Region, Langya Spirit Region, Northern Spirit Region, or the Extreme North Snow Region, they're all considered barren lands. Above the sea of clouds, Qin Feng couldn't help but let out a soft sigh as he looked at the vast land. That's natural. The Heaven and Earth sect is the orthodoxy of the Heaven and Earth Heavenly King from the first era of the Grand Mist era. They once dominated a region, and at their peak, They occupied the core of the central 9 great divine lands, the heaven-origin divine lands. Their power isn't any weaker than the top 3 sects of the 10 great divine sects. Yi Ding sighed. They even produced many ancient emperors. Compared to ordinary orthodoxies, their foundation is much stronger. Compared to the heaven and earth sect, our Xingqian school can only be considered a nouveau riche from the late ancient era. Qin Feng sneered coldly. What's the use of having a long history? Many sects are competing with the present, not the glorious history. If they are destroyed now, they will be the same as the other sections. They will also be reduced to ashes. Although Qin Feng said that, his heart wasn't affected at all. According to the All-Heaven sect records, the Heaven and Earth sect had survived the Golden Era. They only came to an end during the Silver Era. However, their legacy wasn't severed. Instead, it became one of the 18 orthodox sections. It was known as the Heaven and Earth sect, Yin and Yang endless. It's difficult, junior brother Qin Feng, although I don't know how you overturned the Crimson Firmament Sword sect. The same method won't work on the Heaven and Earth sect. Yi Ding shook his head. Even without Yi Ding's reminder, Qin Feng knew that the same method wouldn't work. The Heaven and Earth sect had operated for countless eras. Almost the entire Eastern Spirit region was like an iron bucket. Qin Feng's gaze swept across the land. Cities were built on top of the earth veins according to extremely powerful array formations. They suppressed the earth veins and nurtured spiritual energy. What was even more amazing was that every order was strictly followed. It was filled with an incomparably majestic heaven and earth law. It was as mighty as a prison. Qin Feng didn't say a word. After the two of them entered the Eastern Spirit region, they felt a very obvious restrictive feeling. It was as if they had entered a huge prison. Even the circulation of spiritual energy was much less than in other places. The circulation of laws was even more obscure. Qin Feng narrowed his eyes. He could feel that this was a kind of law that was similar to the law of the stars established by the Xingqian school. Moreover, this law was clearly more complete and strict than the law set by the Xingqian school. In short, it was 100 times more difficult to cause destruction here than in the Crimson Flame region. However, he still had his own way. When Qin Feng caused destruction, he wasn't inferior to the king of evil gods. Chapter 1100. In Qin Feng's memories, although the Eastern Spirit region was filled with treasures, there were also many ancient existences sleeping in this rare land. According to the description in Strange Tales of Gods and Demons, the number of ancient existences with names could be counted on 2 hands. Most of these ancient existences had names and were extremely powerful characters. However, Qin Feng believed that releasing these ancient existences would not be of much use to the destruction of the Eastern Spirit region. The Eastern Spirit region had been ruled by the Cosmic Sect for too long and was as stable as Mount Tai. Even a god or demon would not be able to shake the Cosmic Sect unless they were determined to break through the mountains and rivers. He had to create a powerful character to give Qiankuan's sect a headache. Those that met this requirement were extremely limited. Moreover, Qin Feng could not release an ingrate. Those existences that he released would definitely be enemies with the Cosmic Sect and would have an irreconcilable conflict. In his memories, there were even fewer such existences. The ancient cloud ancestor seems to be sleeping in the Eastern Spirit region. There is also the Wrath God, ranked 15th among the 72 evil pillar gods. The infamous Luo Ho clan is also sleeping somewhere in the Eastern Spirit region. These people are all famous experts and their strength definitely surpasses mine. However, these experts do not have any enmity with the Qiankuan sect. Once they come out, they might not be willing to fight to the death with the Qiankuan sect. They might even betray me. Qin Feng frowned. Junior brother Qin Feng, let's go. You've already destroyed the Crimson Firmament Sword sect and fulfilled your responsibility. The Cosmos sect is a huge force. We shouldn't stay in the Eastern Spirit region for too long. Otherwise, once the experts of the Cosmos sect are attracted, it will be difficult to escape. Yi Ding was now trembling with fear. The Eastern Spirit region was not a small place, and the laws here were extremely strict. The longer they stayed, the more danger they would be exposed. He did not want to die young. Right, the sixth evil ancestor. A heavyweight ancient existence appeared in Qin Feng's mind. The sixth evil ancestor, this was the sixth evil ancestor born from the evil Tao. To be called an evil ancestor, one had to have a deep understanding of the evil Tao and had contributed greatly to the spread of the evil Tao. Just like the evil Tao and Qin Feng and Duan Xiaolu. Qin Feng was the first fiend ancestor. Duan Xiaolu was the second demon ancestor. In Qin Feng's memories, the sixth evil ancestor was born in the Qiankuan sect. Back then, the sixth heretical ancestor was shockingly talented, almost pushing the heretical laws to an unprecedented peak. He was only one step away from becoming an ancient son of heaven. If an ancient son of heaven appeared under the unholy path's rules, then the contribution to the unholy path's rules would be unimaginable. The sixth evil progenitor might be able to completely control this law of nature and become a chief god in a single step. Unfortunately, he failed. When the competition between him and the other hidden dragon was at its most intense, the entire Qiankuan sect suddenly rebelled, causing him to fall into an irrecoverable situation. However, the sixth evil progenitor was still alive. His god's soul had been cultivated to an undying state. He was already a half-step lord and possessed a portion of a lord's power. Even though the Qiankuan sect had done everything they could not kill him. He could only seal the divine soul after the ancient son of heaven returned and killed his physical body. Qiankuan sect had a long legacy and many people had already forgotten where the sixth evil progenitor was sealed. That was until a Qiankuan sect disciple accidentally released the sixth evil progenitor. However, the sixth evil progenitor did not have a good ending either. Rumors had it that he encountered the fiend ancestor Duan Xiaolu, whose cultivation was close to Deshang and was devoured by the fiend ancestor. The heretical laws in his body became supplements for the fiend laws. The ending was rather tragic. However, it was undeniable that the sixth evil progenitor was definitely one of the rare experts in the early stages. Stay here. I'll be right back, Qin Feng said to Yi Ding, and was about to leave immediately. However, a stream of light flashed. Yi Ding appeared before Qin Feng. Junior brother, let's go together. I believe that with my help, things will be much smoother for you. Yi Ding's eyes flickered. He was extremely curious about Qin Feng's actions. He missed it the previous time. This time round, he was determined to follow Qin Feng and see what secrets Qin Feng had. Qin Feng turned around and said calmly, Yi Ding, there will be many dangers if you follow me. I advise you to stay here. At that time, I can't guarantee your safety. Qin Feng did not mind having an additional Yi Ding. However, the sixth evil progenitor was temperamental. If he was released, there would definitely be a fight. Hence, Suemo was not afraid of the sixth evil progenitor who was in a half-crippled state. However, Yi Ding might not be able to handle it. He might even die in the hands of the sixth evil progenitor. Hearing this, Yi Ding became even more determined. He felt that there must be some incredible secret in Qin Feng's heart. Junior brother Qin Feng, you don't have to worry. Since I am willing to follow you, I will naturally take responsibility for my actions. Qin Feng looked at Yi Ding with a smile that did not look like a smile. It was as though he had seen through Yi Ding's thoughts. No matter how thick-skinned Yi Ding was, he could not withstand such a gaze. All right, since you wish to follow me, you can follow me. Yi Ding revealed a smile. This time round, He believed that he would be able to peek at some of Qin Feng's secret. He was excited. 2 streaks of light fell from the sky like invisible meteors, landing on a mountain slope. The 2 streaks of light turned into 2 figures that landed on a mountain peak. They looked down at a mountain city at the foot of the mountain. Both of them looked calm. Boom, boom, boom. Not far behind the mountain, large thunderclouds gathered. From time to time, faint blue lightning would strike down, smashing into countless barren mountains, causing the ground to shake. In the mountain city, many people seemed to be used to it. Junior brother Qin Feng, this seems to be a small mountain city under the Thunder Spirit Path of the 131 paths in the Eastern Spirit region. Why are we here? Yi Ding frowned as he looked at Qin Feng. After spending 2 days, the two of them had traversed almost half of the Eastern Spirit region. Yi Ding did not understand why Qin Feng would come to such a remote place. The Eastern Spirit region was different from other regions. There were no countries, cities, or other large factions or sects. The entire Eastern Spirit region was highly unified. It was divided into 131 paths by Qiankuan sect. Every path had a main city, forming an organization similar to a city lord or governor. Almost every path had disciples from Qiankuan sect guarding it. Beneath each of these daos were numerous counties and counties. Thunder Spirit Path. This was not considered famous among the 131 paths under Qiankuan sect. On the contrary, it was relatively unknown. It did not have rich spiritual mountains or prosperous lands. It also did not have any minerals, ores, spiritual herbs, or spiritual root. It was a barren land. The Thunder Spirit was also named after this mountain range that was often intertwined with lightning. Qin Feng did not make a sound. He looked at the mountain range filled with lightning. According to his memories, the 6th evil ancestor seemed to be sealed somewhere in this mountain range. There's more later. Chapter 1101. Seeing that Qin Feng's gaze had landed on the land of thunder, Yi Ding followed his gaze and looked around curiously. When the land of thunder appeared in the past, it attracted the curiosity of many experts. Some even suspected that there was some treasure within and went to investigate personally. It even attracted the attention of the Qiankuan sect expert. However, after a thorough search, it was proven that the movement of the Earth's crust and the changes in the Earth's veins formed a special feng shui situation that attracted the lightning essence to strike. Looking at Qin Feng's expression, is there a secret that normal people don't know about? Yi Ding could not help but take a closer look at the land of thunder. Unexpectedly, Qin Feng only took a glance and immediately set his gaze on the city at the foot of the mountain. In truth, there was something fishy about the land of thunder. There was a strong lightning element expert hidden within. This lightning element expert was one of the ancient experts. He sealed himself, and because he was about to be born, he attracted the lightning essence and bathed in it to recover his strength. However, to the current Qin Feng, this lightning-type powerhouse could only be considered as a small fry in the early stages, not worth mentioning. There were as many ancient experts as dogs. The 6th evil ancestor was the most important one. The 6th evil ancestor should still be hidden in the city below, deep in the treasury of the Qiankuan Martial Arts Academy. Qiankuan Martial Arts Academy. This was a martial arts academy set up by the Qiankuan sect to select talents and strengthen the management of the region. Such academies could be found in any city that was slightly bigger. Level by level, if one graduated from the martial arts academy in a small city, one could enter the martial arts academy set up by the Dao Manor. If one's cultivation was good, one could enter the Qiankuan sect and become a disciple of the Qiankuan sect. The mountain city in front of him was called Thunder City. In his memory, a few years later, a disciple of the Qiankuan Martial Arts Academy in Thunder City obtained the item that was sealed by the 6th evil ancestor when he was choosing a reward from the treasury. As a result, He obtained some fortuitous encounters and rose up, becoming a legend. However, such a legend was amazing in the eyes of future generations and was envied. To Qin Feng, it was nothing much. In the end, that person was only a 13th-order powerhouse. Although such powerhouses were not everywhere now, they would be soon. Let's go down. As soon as the voice fell, two figures appeared at the entrance of the martial arts academy in the city like a breeze. As the only martial arts academy in Lane City, it was the busiest and most prosperous place in the mountain city. As the two of them appeared, quite a number of young students were walking around them. All of them straightened their backs and accepted the envious and jealous gazes around them. They were all youths, about 14 or 15 years old. There were also some mentors dressed as rank 2 warriors. However, regardless of whether it was the rank 1 enlightened warriors or the rank 2 official warriors, none of them noticed the two people who had suddenly appeared at the entrance of the Thunderclap Universe Martial Arts Academy. Junior brother Qin Feng, this seems to be just an ordinary martial arts academy in Mountain City. What are we doing here? Yi Ding had been observing Qin Feng's expression. However, he still couldn't find any clues. No matter how he looked at it, it was just an ordinary mountain city. There didn't seem to be anything special about it. Qin Feng didn't say anything as the two of them entered the academy. They went straight to the academy's storehouse. A stone door was tightly shut, and there were two gigantic warding off evil lions. Russell. Teams of academy warriors were patrolling the surroundings. It was obvious that this was an important place. These guards weren't much. Qin Feng's gaze landed on the door. At the door, an old man in green was lying on a rocking chair with his eyes squinted. Under the lazy sunlight, he looked like a leisurely old man from the countryside. In such a remote place, there's actually such an expert? Yi Ding's voice came from the side. Qin Feng smiled slightly. This old man in green wasn't simple. The aura he revealed was only at the peak of a rank 2 warrior. In fact, he was a rank 8 sage, and a sage who cultivated a special cultivation technique. Junior brother, should we? Yi Ding squinted his eyes and made a throat-slitting gesture. No need. Qin Feng waved his hand. A rank 8 sage was an absolute powerhouse in a small place like Lane City. However, to the two of them, he was just a slightly bigger ant. What Qin Feng was more worried about was that once they made a move, they might alert Qiankuan sect and create more problems. Qin Feng didn't come to Dongling region to be an assault team member and fight Qiankuan sect head-on. He secretly released other powerhouses to fight Qiankuan sect head-on while he watched from the sidelines. Let's go in. Two formless streaks of light silently passed through the huge stone door and entered the treasury. Outside the stone door, the old man in green was still lying on the rocking chair with his eyes closed. He didn't feel anything. The two figures entered like water. On the stone door, the restrictions around it didn't even ripple. On the throne, there were many items scattered messily. Elixirs, weapons, cultivation techniques, jade boxes to store elixirs. Although it was small, it had all the essentials. On the shelves, there were many exquisite items. It was comparable to the collection of a 1,000-year-old family. However, what kind of people were Qin Feng and Yi Ding? Qin Feng and Yi Ding didn't care about these items at all. Sweeping his gaze around, Qin Feng faintly sensed his surroundings, and a faint smile appeared on his face. With a wave of his sleeve, a black streak of light shot out from a pile of junk and landed on Qin Feng's hand like a shooting star. This is... Yi Ding looked at Qin Feng's hand with a strange expression. It was an oil lamp. It was a messy oil lamp that looked pitch black. The base was like a lotus flower and the wick was made of a special material. It looked like it had been used for a long time. Yi Ding scanned it with his spiritual will but didn't find anything special. Other than the fact that it was made of a special material, there was no other use for it. Qin Feng held the pitch-black oil lamp as a strange smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It was hard to imagine that the famous sixth evil ancestor of ancient times would be sealed in such an ordinary oil lamp, sealed in eternal silence, and burned. He could neither live nor die. In the original timeline, after the Qiankuan sect disciple obtained it by accident, he was nourished by the Orb of Will. Only then did the sixth evil ancestor slowly recover his strength and undo the seal in the oil lamp. Looking at junior brother Qin Feng's expression, this pitch-black oil lamp seems to be an incredible treasure. Yi Ding observed his expression and felt strange. He seems to have known that there was something wrong with this oil lamp. How strange! Yi Ding had a very subtle feeling, as if he could predict the future. Yi Ding lowered his head and thought about the history of Qin Feng's growth. He couldn't help but think. Could it be that Qin Feng has a talent similar to foresight? Yi Ding's eyes flashed with a strange light. In the legends of the Spirit Sea continent, there were many geniuses who had such fortuitous encounters. They accidentally came across some fragments of time and could see a part of the passage of time, gaining some ability similar to foresight, knowing a trace of the general trend and the cause and effect. Qin Feng's performance made him think of this possibility. Chapter 1102. Lin Fan stroked the oil lamp. Qin Feng smiled faintly. To be able to seal such a ferocious being like the sixth evil ancestor, this oil lamp must be a treasure as well. Gulp, gulp. In the void, wisps of dark red were born from the depths of the void. It brought with it a refreshing and soul-warming fragrance. Blood River Qi? Yi Ding raised his head and looked into the void. His face changed. Qin Feng was using the deepest part of the blood river to draw out the purest blood river qi and dripped it onto the oil lamp inch by inch. The blood river qi permeated the entire oil lamp, making it seem as though it had come back to life. There was a massive aura that looked like a demonic dragon swimming within. This is... Yi Ding's face changed instantly. Looking at the oil lamp that was absorbing the blood river qi like a whale sucking in water, he could feel the thick energy laws within it. He took in a breath of cold air. Junior brother, is there a king inside? Yi Ding's scalp was about to explode. Qin Feng turned his head and glanced at Yi Ding. Then, his gaze landed on the lotus oil lamp that had turned blood red. The so-called king was a level 15 powerful being. However, it referred to level 15 greater celestial beings. Level 15 was divided into lesser celestial, middle celestial, greater celestial, strong celestial, and heaven-defying celestial. Greater celestial beings were known as kings. Any king could match up to level 15 true god. As for level 15 heaven-defying beings, they could match up to ordinary master gods. However, every level 15 cultivation was extremely difficult. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Greater celestial kings were extremely rare. The difficulty of becoming a king was no less than becoming a god. Qin Feng said calmly. He was once, but not anymore. What? Is it really a king? Yi Ding could not help but ask. Junior brother Qin Feng, who is this king? Qin Feng said calmly. The sixth evil ancestor. What? It's him? Yi Ding's face turned green. Junior brother, you must not release him. Those evil ancestors are extremely ferocious and evil people, and they don't distinguish between right and wrong when they kill. If you release him, then the two of us will be in danger. Yi Ding was truly frightened this time. He never would have thought that the reason Qin Feng crossed several regions and came to such a remote place was to release an existence like the evil ancestor. The corrupt paths experts were all savage and evil to begin with. Those evil gods were the best of the best. The strongest was the Cthulhu king. However, even the king of evil gods could only be obedient in front of the evil ancestor. When Yi Ding thought of Qin Feng releasing an evil ancestor into the world, even with his current shrewdness, he felt his mouth go dry. Looking at the beads of sweat on Yi Ding's forehead, Qin Feng smiled. What are you afraid of? Didn't you ask to come along? Why are you scared now? Yi Ding was so angry that he pointed at Qin Feng, unable to say anything. If he knew that Qin Feng came here to release the evil ancestor, who would be willing to follow? All right, Yi Ding, what are you afraid of? The sixth evil ancestor is cunning and terrifying, but he was sealed by the ancient Son of Heaven for so long. Even if he's not dead, he's half dead. Qin Feng smiled faintly. At our level of cultivation, the King Realm isn't some legend. If we have the opportunity, we might be able to reach the King Realm, or even surpass him. Yi Ding glared at Qin Feng. He didn't know if he should say that Qin Feng was arrogant or that he was ambitious and courageous. In front of a terrifying existence like the evil ancestor, where did Qin Feng's confidence come from? Yi Ding was about to say something. Qin Feng had already turned his head, and his gaze landed on the blood-red oil lamp. Sixth evil ancestor, do you think I'm right? Gurgle. The oil lamp seemed to have turned into a blood fountain, and bright red blood light spewed out. The blood river Yuan Qi and the souls of living creatures were the best sacrifices for the evil path's resurrection. After devouring the blood river Yuan Qi that Qin Feng had drawn over, the evil ancestor had already recovered a certain amount of his soul. However, he was unusually cunning and kept devouring the blood river Yuan Qi without making a sound. Bang! Without a sound, the blood river Yuan Qi that was being drawn over was suddenly cut off. Roar! A low and furious roar came from the void, causing a huge fluctuation. However, Qin Feng had already set up a layer of divine domain in the surroundings, so no matter how big the commotion was, it wouldn't alarm the outside world. Little thing, are you courting death? How dare you interfere with the ancestors' matter? A terrifying intent filled with killing intent came crashing down on Qin Feng. Suddenly cut off from the blood meal, the sixth evil ancestor's killing intent grew. Dense blood qi gushed forth like a blood-red shooting star, tearing through the air as it blasted toward Qin Feng, bringing with it a sense of malice that seemed to materialize. Be careful! In the blink of an eye, Yi Ding felt a wisp of high-level power that could easily kill him. His expression changed and he retreated rapidly. Qin Feng's expression didn't change. He only smiled coldly. Dense water light revolved around his body, and a huge waterfall suddenly rushed out. It was like a heavy hammer that heavily smashed into the invading evil ancestor. Bang! Yi Ding closed his eyes, as if he could hear the scene of a heavy hammer hitting a mountain and the entire mountain shattering. Ah! Boom! Like a red lightning bolt, he flew backward. A series of painful sounds rang out. Heaven rank law, primordial strike. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The blood-red meteor that was blasted out flew randomly in the void like a headless fly. After a while, it turned into a pair of blood-red eyes filled with killing intent and looked at Qin Feng. Lord Evil Ancestor, have you calmed down? Qin Feng raised his head and looked at the blood-red eyes that were filled with terrifying killing intent. If Lord Evil Ancestor still hasn't calmed down, then wait until the next era to come out. Qin Feng's hand that was holding the blood-red oil lamp emitted a faint blue light. The power of the lamp seemed to be activated, and a small vortex appeared. However, seeing the vortex appear, the blood-red eyes suddenly changed, and a low voice came from the blood-red meteor. Let this god out, and this god will give you benefits. Qin Feng's hand that was holding the lamp froze, and the vortex above the blood-red oil lamp disappeared. Looking at the sixth evil ancestor, Qin Feng revealed a smile on his face. A gentleman doesn't stand under a dangerous wall. The sixth evil ancestor is a smart person. On the side, seeing Qin Feng's actions, Yi Ding secretly worried for Qin Feng. Qin Feng's courage was greater than he had imagined, and of course, his strength was also greater. Although the sixth evil ancestor had been sealed for a long time and his strength had been greatly reduced, his realm was still that of a true king. The essence of his power was the true power of a true god, and not ordinary divine power. Such a true god's power could kill an ordinary 14th-rank supreme being, but Qin Feng had easily blocked it and forced the sixth evil ancestor to bow his head temporarily. However, Yi Ding was still worried. Existences like the sixth evil ancestor would cause trouble for no reason. Qin Feng had offended him today, and once he recovered his strength in the future, he was afraid that there's more later. Chapter 1103. It's not that I can't let you out, but you have to agree to my conditions first. Qin Feng's expression remained calm and unruffled. Since he dared to release the sixth evil ancestor, Qin Feng was not afraid of any revenge. Conditions. In the void, the sixth evil ancestor's blood-red eyes flashed with a chilling light. As the sixth evil ancestor, even if he was defeated, no one dared to raise conditions with him. He swore that the first thing he would do when he came out was to kill this detestable young man in front of him. He said in a gloomy voice, "It's not that I can't agree to your conditions, but what if I agree to your conditions and you don't let me out?" Qin Feng's eyes flashed coldly. "Then what do you want?" A red light appeared in the void and turned into a grayish-black contract. "This is an evil contract. It contains a trace of the origin of evil in the world and can communicate with the laws of heaven and earth. You can write your conditions in it. Only then can I believe in your sincerity." The sixth evil ancestor's voice was filled with evil. The grayish-brown contract seemed to be entangled with countless evil karma, causing the void to distort. Qin Feng looked at the contract that looked like an ordinary sheepskin scroll floating in the void. With just a quick glance, a sneer appeared at the corner of his eyes. Can an evil ancestor's contract be signed? Although he did not know the origin of this contract, he was sure that there were countless traps and tricks in it. Qin Feng was not stupid. How could he believe the sixth evil ancestor? An invisible stream of light blasted out and suddenly tore the grayish-black contract into pieces. It turned into tens of thousands of grayish-black streams of light and dissipated. "What are you doing?" The sixth evil ancestor's blood-red eyes were gloomy when he saw this. "What am I doing?" Qin Feng looked at the sixth evil ancestor with a sneer. "You don't have the right to believe me or not, and you don't have the right to negotiate with me. Let me tell you, if you accept my conditions today, it's fine. If you say no, you can forget about ever being born again." Yi Ding was tongue-tied when he saw the domineering Qin Feng. Is Qin Feng crazy? He wanted to offend the sixth evil ancestor to death. Yi Ding looked at the pair of blood-red eyes. Qi. The blood-red meteor fluctuated violently, like a terrifying blood-red sun, violently spewing out blood flames. Everyone could feel the evil ancestor's anger and killing intent. The murderous intent that was almost tangible caused the void to freeze. A chill permeated Yi Ding's body, causing his hair to stand on end. Crack, crack. A lot of blood-colored frost appeared in the void of the formless yet substantial killing intent. Yi Ding's expression changed drastically. He felt the killing intent from the pair of blood-red eyes as they swept over him. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He could not help but send a voice transmission to Qin Feng beside him. "Junior brother Qin Feng, you can't play like this. This time, we're in big trouble because of you. Now that the sixth evil ancestor hates me, you must not let him go." Yi Ding groaned inwardly. He regretted following Qin Feng here. Whatever he did, he ended up provoking a huge enemy. Qin Feng glanced at Yi Ding. Yi Ding's face was so green that it was turning purple. "How is it, sixth evil ancestor, have you thought it through?" Turning his head, Qin Feng's eyes were dark and cold, filled with a clear threat. This kid, after he's born, we must not let him go. Moreover, we must not let him die. If we can't torture him for millions of years, how can the old ancestor's hatred be quenched? The sixth evil ancestor had never been humiliated and threatened like this before. Although his heart was filled with hatred, his tone was cold. State your conditions. Qin Feng's eyelids twitched as he spoke without thinking. Within 3 months, help me destroy heaven and earth sect. There was a flash of anger in the blood-red eyes. No, even if the Heaven and Earth sect is one of the top 72 mysterious sects, it is still a behemoth. This is especially so for the Heaven and Earth sect. The Heaven and Earth sect has the Tao of Yin and Yang. Even if I was at my peak, I wouldn't have the confidence to destroy this sect, let alone the current me who is in an incomplete state. It's impossible to destroy them within 3 months. At the side, Yi Ding shook his head. Wiping out Qiankuan sect in 3 months was like a dream. That was too harsh. His blood-red eyes shone with a red light. 100 years. Give me 100 years and I will definitely destroy Heaven and Earth sect. 10 years. Just give me 10 years and I will be able to recover my full strength. At that time, I will destroy Heaven and Earth sect and you will die too. The sixth evil ancestor's heart was filled with hatred. The humiliation today was etched in his heart. Qin Feng laughed coldly. He could not be bothered to waste time with the sixth evil ancestor as he stretched out 3 fingers. 3 months, not a day more. Let me tell you, I'm not negotiating with you, I'm ordering you. You have no right to bargain with me. At the side, Yi Ding shook his head. This was simply forcing the sixth evil ancestor to death. His eyes flashed with anger as he was about to speak again. Qin Feng pointed his finger and with the Heaven and Earth laws, a golden contract appeared. All the conditions that he mentioned previously appeared on the contract. A Heaven and Earth contract formed by the Heaven and Earth laws? Gulp. Yi Ding looked at it and his throat bobbed. Sixth evil ancestor, the only way for you to survive is to sign a contract with him. Don't even think about bargaining or complaining. I know that as a former disciple of Qiankuan sect, you must know some secrets of Qiankuan sect. 3 months is enough for you to destroy Qiankuan sect. Qin Feng's eyes flickered as he continued. Furthermore, I can tell you a piece of news for free. Heaven and Earth sect is currently attacking another sect. Most of their experts will be sent out and only a small number of them will be left behind to defend the sect. Under such circumstances, if you can't destroy Heaven and Earth sect, you deserve to die. The sixth evil ancestor's eyes flashed as he said, Little friend, your conditions are too harsh. 3 months for me to destroy Heaven and Earth sect with my crippled body. That's too difficult, almost impossible. Why do you have to be so overbearing? Why don't we both take a step back and agree to 3 years? 3 years is enough for me to recover some of my strength. At that time, I will be confident of destroying Heaven and Earth sect. Qin Feng laughed coldly. All right, sixth evil ancestor, there's only a single path for you now. Sign this contract and you'll be able to live. You'll be able to get out of this oil lamp. Qin Feng's eyes were cold. If you don't sign it, I can guarantee you that even if Heaven and Earth are destroyed, you can forget about getting out of this oil lamp. Gotcha. The blood-red chilliness in the void was like the ancient underworld, rising to the peak in an instant. The sixth evil ancestor had never hated such AB****. Even the ancient Tianzi, who sealed him, and the ancestors of Heaven and Earth sect's Xian family didn't make him hate them as much as he did now. Given his methods, it was indeed possible for him to destroy Heaven and Earth sect within 3 months. But if he were to do so, even with his strength, he would suffer unimaginable damage. But if he didn't sign it, the consequences would be unpredictable. This was practically forcing him to his death. There's more to come. Chapter 1104. The corners of Qin Feng's eyes curled up, and the corners of his mouth curved into a subtle arc. That's right, he had forced the sixth evil ancestor to his death. The sixth evil ancestor was not a good person according to the records of the gods and demons. This person was temperamental and always did things based on his emotions. He didn't care about right or wrong and didn't distinguish between right and wrong. It was rumored that his own family, including his parents, had died in his hands. If that was all, Qin Feng would not have cared. He was not a moral gentleman who acted as the judge of justice everywhere. Most importantly, this evil ancestor was vengeful. His methods were vicious and vicious. Almost the entire family of the existence who had competed with him for the ancient emperor's position had been killed by this evil ancestor. All of them had become weapons to attack that ancient emperor. When Qin Feng released this evil ancestor, he didn't plan on letting this evil ancestor live. He would definitely kill this evil ancestor once he walked out of the eastern wilderness divine treasure. I'll sign this contract. In the blood-red meteor, he was almost gnashing his teeth. He had to sign it. The sixth evil ancestor was really afraid that Qin Feng would hide the oil lamp that sealed him in some desolate place or a dangerous place where there were no living beings at all. In the blood-red meteor, a wisp of origin mark turned into a wisp of black and white in an instant and sank into the contract formed by the laws of heaven and earth. The power of heaven and earth, the origin of yin and yang? Qin Feng's eyes flashed with surprise. He had a lot of guesses about the sixth evil ancestor's foundation. The golden contract could be seen with the naked eye emitting a strong ray of light. The shadow of a divine dragon flashed and turned into a stream of light that disappeared into the sky. Dragon shadow, the dragon race? In the blood-red meteor, the sixth evil ancestor's eyes flashed with understanding. This was a phenomenon revealed by his feet. Intense resentment flashed in his heart. Dragon race, I won't let you off. At this moment, a faint golden light descended from the sky like a firefly and silently fell into the sixth evil ancestor's heart. The sixth evil ancestor felt as if a curse had been placed on his soul. It was a heavenly lock formed by a contract. If he could not complete everything in the contract, he would suffer a backlash from the laws of heaven and earth and die miserably. Now you can let this god out. His blood-red eyes stared at Qin Feng, filled with coldness. Qin Feng looked up. I advise you to have a better attitude. Otherwise, you might have to spend the next 3 months in this oil lamp. You're going back on your word. The sixth evil ancestor's blood-red eyes were like a volcano that was about to erupt. Yidinghao did not doubt that the sixth evil ancestor might even spurt out blood in the next moment. Qin Feng was like pouring oil on the fire. Instead, he nodded seriously. Yes, I regret it. What can you do to me? At this moment, the anger within Blood Meteor was about to explode. The sixth evil ancestor's anger had almost reached its peak, but there was still a voice in his heart that was trying hard to persuade him. Endure. He had to endure it. You've been through so much. Back then, when you rose from nothing, you relied on the word tolerance. You had to endure for a while. What does a moment of humiliation count for? Once I'm free, I'll have thousands of ways to teach this brat a lesson. Life and death are difficult. At the side, Yidinghao's face was filled with caution. He was afraid that the sixth evil ancestor would not be able to resist and die together with him. Enduring his anger, the sixth evil ancestor's blood-red eyes said calmly, Little brother, why do you have to do this? I believe that you must have your own interests in mind for releasing me to destroy heaven and earth sect. Furthermore, this matter should not have involved me. Although I don't know how you knew that I was sealed here, since you're the one who released me, you're my benefactor. You've done me a favor and I've always repaid it. Why do you have to do this and spoil our relationship? Qin Feng looked at the sixth evil ancestor in surprise. If it was any other primeval expert, then perhaps he would believe it. But he did not have the rights to say that. Repaying favors? I'm afraid you're more likely to want to burn me to ashes. Laughing coldly in his heart, Qin Feng said calmly. At least you know how to talk. I've got to practice more in the future. The sixth evil ancestor's heart was burning with hatred. However, he laughed dryly. A strange look flashed across his blood-red eyes. Benefactor, you're right. I wonder which faction you're from. For you to have such cultivation at such a young age, you must be from a big sect. Why? Do you want to find out my background and take revenge? Qin Feng glanced at that pair of terrifying blood-red eyes from the corner of his eyes. His eyes, which were like that of a demonic god, revealed a trace of killing intent that was as sharp as a blade. The sixth evil ancestor laughed dryly. Curious, just a little personal curiosity. The killing intent in his heart burned even hotter. Is that so? Yes. The sixth evil ancestor gritted his teeth. That be asterisk starred. Qin Feng nodded his head. Sigh, that's right. Look at your attitude. Looking at how the sixth evil ancestor was acting like a lackey, Yi Ding could not help but laugh out loud. What are you laughing at? The sixth evil ancestor's eyes were filled with rage. He was under the control of the black-clothed young man in front of him, but it did not mean that he could be laughed at. Yi Ding felt a chill all over his body. Being stared at by the sixth evil ancestor, he suddenly felt a great terror enveloping his body. All the pores on his body stood up. Qin Feng looked displeased as he stared at the sixth evil ancestor and scolded. What are you doing? Don't you want to come out? The sixth evil ancestor's heart twitched, and his blood-red eyes almost exploded with anger. He tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart. After a moment of silence, his blood-red eyes looked at Qin Feng with a smile. It was a joke. Qin Feng's eyes sneered, as if he had seen through the sixth evil ancestor's bottomless hatred. Apologize to him. The scene fell silent. A deathly silence. Yi Ding was a little scared. Treating a former evil ancestor like this, was Qin Feng not afraid of getting burned by playing with fire? This was simply a slave. Qin Feng knows the temperament of the sixth evil ancestor. He knows that although the sixth evil ancestor does things based on his emotions, he cherishes his life very much. But is he not afraid of the sixth evil ancestor's crazy revenge? Today, he used such methods to force and bully the sixth evil ancestor. I'm afraid the sixth evil ancestor will not rest until he is dead. Yi Ding was secretly shocked. Little did he know that Qin Feng did not care about this at all. Based on Qin Feng's understanding of the sixth evil ancestor, releasing the sixth evil ancestor meant that he would not rest until he was dead. The sixth evil ancestor never had any thoughts of grudges. No matter if it was gratitude or resentment, as long as it was related to his interests, he would not rest until he was dead. Since he was already dead, Qin Feng might as well use the sixth evil ancestor as livestock. He would trample his dignity under his feet. After a moment of silence, just when Yi Ding thought that the sixth evil ancestor was about to explode, the blood-red eyes came to Yi Ding and looked at him sincerely. Young master, I was rude and offended you. I'm really sorry, please accept my apology. Please forgive me. Yi Ding's face twitched. At this moment, he was sure that the sixth evil ancestor hated him this time. In the future, if there was such a huge humiliation, there would be a share of Qin Feng and a share of it. Yi Ding could not help but sigh. This damn Qin Feng has caused me so much trouble. Yi Ding regretted following Qin Feng here. Chapter 1105. Qin Feng looked at this scene mockingly. Qin Feng knew that the sixth evil ancestor would hate Yi Ding to the core. However, He wanted to make the sixth evil ancestor hate Yi Ding. Back then, when he was at All Stars College, he was forced by Yi Ding to behave himself. Although it had been a long time, it was not something that could be forgotten with a humble attitude. No need, no need. Lord Evil Ancestor is a senior. I can't accept your courtesy. Yi Ding waved his hand repeatedly. Qin Feng walked forward and looked at the blood-red eyes. I'll let you go this time since you're so sincere and have admitted your mistake. With a slight movement of his spiritual will, he locked onto a gigantic river of blood that had existed since time immemorial. Strands of green blood qi were drawn over from the river of blood. They landed on the blood-red oil lamp. At the same time, his divine power, which was at the peak of the 7th level of extreme grade, was absorbed and refined the blood-red oil lamp. There were many blood-red restrictions, and there was even a purple aura of the 5th level of extreme grade maintaining them. However, it was instantly defeated by the Chaos Origin divine power, which was at the peak of the 7th level of extreme grade. It turned into a ball of purple light and was devoured. After losing the purple aura, the restrictions around the oil lamp were like rootless trees and water without a source. They were destroyed and turned into scattered pieces. A ball of black and white divine light with a little bit of blood-red light appeared. The sixth evil ancestor was born. In the treasury there was a flash of light. Qin Feng pulled Yi Ding and disappeared on the spot, along with the oil lamp and all the treasures in the treasury. It could be said that they had dug 3 feet into the ground. The sixth evil ancestor's sole true body was bathed in a light gray mist that enveloped the entire treasury. There was a twisted coldness in his blood-red eyes. The sixth evil ancestor originally thought that he would be wild with joy after breaking free from this seal. However, at this moment, he was only filled with endless anger, grievance, and killing intent. Dragon tribe, no matter who you are, I'll kill you. His gloomy words seemed to cause waves of muffled thunder to rise in the cold treasury. Who's there? Boom. The stone door suddenly shattered, and a green-robed old man appeared at the entrance of the treasury with a face full of anger. This was none other than the Eighth Order sage who had been guarding the storehouse. Qin Feng removed the Divine Domain's seal, and this Eighth Order sage finally sensed the commotion in the storehouse. He immediately broke through the door and entered. In the distance, many experts from the Thunderclap Qiankuan Martial Arts Academy heard the commotion and rushed over. Just nice. Today your god can finally see the light of day once more. I shall use your Qiankuan sect disciples as a blood sacrifice. A deep and cold voice gushed out from the door, and a thick fog instantly spread out from the stone door. Not good, there's a fluctuation of divine power. It's a powerhouse above the 14th stage. The green-robed elder sensed something and turned pale with fright. In a flash, he was about to break through the void and leave the Thunder City. However, it was too late. The thick gray fog shrouded him, and he felt as if the void had become hundreds or thousands of times thicker. He couldn't tear it apart at all. When the gray fog got close to him, he felt as if his flesh, blood, and soul were being sucked in. Whoosh! All that was left of the old man was a layer of skin and clothes. His flesh, blood, and saint soul had been sucked clean by the sixth evil ancestor in the blink of an eye. The thick fog shrouded the entire Thunder City, and cries of agony could be heard from time to time. 2 hours later, the fog dissipated, and a middle-aged man with white hair and wide sleeves appeared. This middle-aged man had an extraordinary aura, and he looked righteous and righteous. He squinted his eyes and muttered to himself. After devouring the life force of everyone in the city, I've finally recovered a portion of my strength. However, in order to fully recover, I'll have to devour hundreds of lives in a short period of time. However, with the Qiankuan sect's strength, they will definitely send experts to stop me. I can't rush it yet. I can't devour the life force and souls of others. Damn it, that brat only gave me 3 months. The middle-aged man's eyes were cold. Annihilating the Qiankuan sect within 3 months? Even at my peak, I might not be able to do it. He muttered to himself as he thought to himself. The only thing I can do now is to find some helpers. Oh yes, the 8th evil ancestor was injured by the 9th evil ancestor, just like me. His luck is worse than mine. If not for the Qiankuan emperor stopping me in the Antiquity Age, I would have recovered long ago and improved further. The 8th evil ancestor did not have the opportunity and should still be licking his wounds. If only I could devour him. An evil glint flashed across his eyes. Without a sound, he disappeared from the sky above the Thunder City. A few days later, a Qiankuan sect disciple noticed a change in Thunder City. Everyone in the city had disappeared for no reason. This was a big deal. Not long after, a Qiankuan sect expert came to investigate. After a round of investigation, the Qiankuan sect expert concluded that another evil god had broken out of the seal, and a storm broke out. After leaving Thunder Sound City, the two of them reappeared in a small city thousands of miles away. After hesitating for a while, Yiding asked, "Junior brother Qin Feng, where are we going now?" Yiding was a little scared of Qin Feng. "Why? Senior brother Yiding, is there something you need?" Qin Feng glanced at Yiding. Yiding did not reply. He was really afraid of Qin Feng, this troublemaker. Qin Feng looked at Yiding's expression and said with a smile, "All right, you don't have to be afraid. We won't be going anywhere else. We will head back to the domain of stars and head to the human ancestors' prison. By this time, the restrictions around the human ancestors' prison should be mostly destroyed." Yiding heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. "However," he said, "don't you need to do anything else? Don't you need to arrange other things? Even if you have set up a trap to restrain the Crimson Firmament Sword sect and the Heaven and Earth sect, these two sects might be the two forces that are taking action this time. There must be an even stronger force behind them, including the top few divine sects of the 72 mysterious sects." Qin Feng shook his head. This time, Xingqian School was facing a situation where a pack of wolves would devour a tiger. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. This was an inevitable situation. Xingqian School had grown a little too much in recent years. They had advanced rapidly in the savage battlefield. The many spiritual mountains and blessed lands were already enviable. Needless to say, this generation of Xingqian School was full of geniuses. There were many reincarnated geniuses, as well as peerless geniuses like Wang Daoi, Qin Feng, and Gong Ao who could reach the Godfiend's supremacy in a short time. How could the various sects not be afraid? Killing intent rose in their hearts. However, this was also an inevitable calamity for Xingqian School to rise. Qin Feng looked at Yiding and said, "I know that. However, Xingqian School does not belong to me alone. Moreover, the Star Venerable has always been unfathomable. Even if I don't do anything, I think he will have his own ways. What we need to do now is to obtain the Eastern Wilderness divine treasure as soon as possible. We will strive to attain divinity before the first wave of divinity ascension arrives. There's more later." Chapter 1106. Headmaster, I have great news. Xingqian School, Lingxiao Hall. An excited voice came from afar, accompanied by a hurried figure. In the hall, the 28 star monarchs, who were directing experts to various places, looked at this figure in surprise. On the throne in the center, the Star Venerable opened his eyes amidst the starlight. A wisp of majesty that surpassed the heavens and the earth flashed. A silver-robed elder who had rushed and excitedly stiffened. In the next moment, he restrained his expression and saluted the Star Monarchs and Star Venerable. Star Venerable, Star Monarchs, Star Lords, and Star Kings, The Wind Trust Hall's spies in the Crimson Flame Spirit Zone just sent news that a true phoenix appeared in the depths of the Crimson Flame Spirit Zone's Crimson Flame Spirit Zone. The entire Crimson Firmament Sword sect was buried in a sea of fire by this true phoenix. What, is this true? At this moment, many experts in the hall looked at the silver-robed elder in shock. It's absolutely true. After I received the news, I deliberately invited a Star King to investigate. It's been confirmed that a few days ago, the Crimson Flame Spirit volcano suddenly erupted. A true phoenix ran out and indiscriminately attacked the entire Crimson Firmament Sword sect. Now, the Crimson Firmament Sword sect has been completely destroyed. Many experts are scattered in all directions to escape the true phoenix's pursuit. The silver-robed elder couldn't hide his excitement. Great, if that's the case, our Xingqian school will be reduced by more than half. God bless our Xingqian school! What timely help! Many star monarchs, star lords, and star kings were excited. On the throne, the star venerable stroked his snow-white eyebrows. His long and narrow eyes flickered with a strange light. This news was indeed beyond his expectations. Facing the siege of the various sects, the star venerable, as the Xingqian school's headmaster, actually felt enormous pressure. Although he had arranged many things, Xingqian school's chances of victory were still not high. However, if something happened to the Crimson Firmament Sword sect, it would give Xingqian school a lot of time to breathe. This wasn't just because the alliance of sects lacked the Crimson Firmament Sword sect. More importantly, Xingqian school could use this as an opportunity to draw those greedy eyes to the Red Flame Spirit region. It was also a piece of meat bone, but the ones guarding the bone were the fierce tiger and the thin sheep. As long as they were not stupid, they would choose to attack Bonehead, who was protected by Skinny Goat. He would never choose Xingqian school, this fierce tiger. Star Venerable, this is an opportunity. A Star King's eyes lit up as he spoke. That's right, it's a good opportunity to divert the calamity. The Scarlet Flame Spirit region should be able to satisfy the appetite of most people. As for the rest of them, even if they covet Xingqian school, they have to weigh themselves properly so that their teeth don't fall out. That's right. Time is precious and opportunities are fleeting. We should encourage those unorthodox sects to go to the Red Flame Spirit region and trigger this crisis. The Star Kings spoke one after another. A Star Lord who was surrounded by a murderous aura said, "In my opinion, not only should we take advantage of this opportunity to divert the calamity, but we should also take advantage of this opportunity to defeat those who are scheming against Xingqian school. Only in this way can we truly intimidate them so that they won't dare to cause trouble for Xingqian school in the short term. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xingqian school might be able to make further progress. It's impossible to make further progress, but we can use this opportunity to eliminate many hidden dangers. All in all, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Many experts of Xingqian school who supported the war were filled with murderous intent. On the central throne, the head Star Venerable pondered for a moment, then said to the 28 Star Lords under him, "Kong Jin, Jiaomu, Jingmu, Wei Hua, 4 Star Lords, please start moving and persuade some of the unorthodox sects who are on good terms with Xingqian school to immediately send people to the Red Flame Spirit region to seize territory." "Yes, sir." The 4 Star Lords on both sides stood out. The Star Venerable's eyes fell on a suave Star Lord on the side. "Star Lord Zhongyu, please also contact our allies and ask them to act. We must create the illusion that heroes are dividing the Red Flame Spirit region." "Yes, sir, Star Venerable." A white-clothed Star Lord with a face as bright as the moon and eyes as bright as stars stood out. He walked to the center and saluted with his hands folded. "Head Senior Brother, don't worry. Among the allies of Xingqian school, the Crafting sect, the 4 Symbols sect, and the Tai-E sect have long had designs on the Red Flame Spirit region. They may not care about rescuing Xingqian school, but they definitely won't fall behind when it comes to dividing a top-tier province like the Red Flame Spirit region. Hearing this, many Star Lords and Star Lords laughed. The world is bustling for profit, and the world is bustling for profit. These three sects are ranked at the bottom of the 72 mysterious sections. In the past, they naturally didn't dare to offend the Red Firmament Sword sect, but now they have a chance. Now that the Red Firmament Sword sect has been severely damaged by the True Phoenix, I'm sure these people won't have any tricks up their sleeves. On the throne, the Star Venerable nodded. If that's all, it won't be enough to divert their attention. Junior Sister Xinu, quickly come here. You have some connections with some Imperial family experts in the Savage Desolate Spirit region. You can reveal this matter to them, and you can also add fuel to the fire. You must make them believe that many sects are already preparing to go to the Red Flame Spirit region to divide the Red Firmament Sword sect. Below the main hall, an extremely beautiful female Star Lord stood out. Yes, sir. Her every move carried a charm that was close to the law. Her every frown and smile was dazzling and extremely moving. Many extremely powerful Star Lords and Star Lords were somewhat dazed and showed an infatuated expression. She was the Heart Moon Fox Star Lord, the head of the Heart Moon Peak of the 28 Peaks of Xingqian School. This lineage was the most special. Every generation of Star Lords was extremely beautiful, and many of them were the most beautiful in their respective provinces. On the side, a Star Lord walked out and asked for instructions. Sect Master, Star Venerable, what about the original plan we prepared? The original plan remains unchanged. We still have to be on high alert. The inescapable net plan will be activated as usual, and we can't reveal any flaws. However, there are some spies that we don't need to worry about. Those who should be taken out will all be taken out. Let the disciples of the Supervisory Hall and the Heaven's Punishment Hall act together. Some people don't need to be left alive anymore. The Sect Master Star Venerable's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. In the 9 great empires, there was no need for such deformed existences that were formed by the compromise between sects and major forces to exist anymore. In troubled times, severe punishments were needed. Anyone who dares to resist will be killed without mercy. The expressions of many Star Kings, Star Lords, and Star Lords changed. The inescapable net plan. Thinking of that plan, many Star Kings, Star Lords, and Star Lords revealed complicated expressions. There was expectation, unwillingness, and an indescribable passion. Once that plan was completed, not only would they be able to survive this crisis, but they might even be able to advance further and squeeze into the 10 divine sects. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The appearance of the Eastern Wilderness divine treasure attracted the attention of most experts. It just so happened that the Xingqian school could free up their hands and do something big. Many experts took a deep breath and stood up. Yes, Sect Master. On the throne, the Sect Master Star Venerable looked at everyone in the main hall, his eyes as bright as stars. We must succeed. The dream of countless experts of the Xingqian school must be realized. The Sect Master Star Venerable's palms were a little wet behind his back. If this plan succeeded, not only would he be able to ascend to godhood in one step, but he would also have a high chance of becoming a Star Lord. In an instant, the ancient giant that was the Star Sect began to move at a speed that surpassed the imagination of all the sects and most of the powerhouses. There's more later. Chapter 1107. When Xingqian School received the news of Scarlet Flame Spiritual Region, Heaven and Earth Sect received the news of Scarlet Flame Spiritual Region almost at the same time. When the news spread in Sun Golden Palace, the entire Sun Golden Palace was silent for a long time. God is protecting Xingqian School. After a long while, an expert from Heaven and Earth Sect let out a sigh. Man proposes, God disposes. What a pity. We prepared for so long. Yeah. After Xingqian School was destroyed, we were going to use this phoenix to destroy Scarlet Cloud Sword Sect. Who would have thought that the real phoenix would be born at this time? Many of the elders sighed in sorrow. A grand elder with a high position smiled bitterly. Most importantly, the Star Extermination Alliance that we worked so hard to build is going to collapse. Many elders had ugly expressions on their faces. Wasn't that right? With a fat sheep like the Crimson Flame Spirit region in front of them, which great force would be willing to take on a tough bone like the Star Sect? Another rank 14 antique said after a moment of silence. From what I see, the real phoenix is most likely the work of Star Venerable. This is very similar to his style. The old antiques on the side looked at each other, and a short ancient existence nodded with a solemn expression. Star Venerable is good at hiding his strength and biding his time. Once he attacks, he will be fast, accurate, and ruthless. This is indeed his style. Beside the throne of the Golden Sun Palace, a supreme existence that looked like the sun slowly spoke. Indeed. To be honest, even the legendary Gong Ao from Xingqian School isn't a threat. Only the Star Venerable is extremely dangerous. I have tested him before, but, he paused. Although he didn't finish his sentence, it was obvious that he had suffered a great loss. All the experts in the palace couldn't help but take a deep breath. This nine-sword Heaven Lord wasn't simple. He was a peerless expert from Heaven and Earth sect in an ancient era. It was said that he could even fight a rank 15 true god. Legend had it that he was only half a step away from becoming a king. Even the nine-sword heavenly monarch had suffered in the hands of the Star Venerable. It could be seen how terrifying the Star Venerable was. Beside the throne, the other level 15 supreme beings looked at each other. It was precisely because of this that they wanted to destroy Xingqian School. A group of unparalleled Star Venerable should also be a 15th order middle celestial pinnacle expert, just one step away from becoming an emperor. However, if the Star Venerable was allowed to complete the final step and become the king, once he became a deity, he would be a deity king. That would be incredible. The tyrannical difference between a 15th rank God King and a 15th rank ordinary true God was not just a little bit. Actually, there was one thing that ordinary elders were not clear about. The reason why several 15th order peerless existences were determined to eradicate Xingqian School was because they suspected that the Star Venerable would become a king in the near future. It might be in Xingqian School's calamity. On the throne, Xian Zhiyang looked at everyone in the hall and said, "Everyone, share your thoughts." Especially the 8 Desolation Elders, Qian, Kun, Sun, Dui, Zhen, Zhen, Li, and Kansas. The 8 Desolation Elders represented the interests of many old antiques in the sect. The leading 8 Desolation Elders looked at each other and discussed their opinions. Among them, Elder Qian stood up. After organizing his words slightly, Elder Qian spoke. "Martial ancestors, sect master, I think that the most important thing now is not to destroy Xingqian School. It's not possible to destroy Xingqian School. It's not realistic. We only have 3 choices. One of them is the Eastern Desolation Godly Treasure. I think all of you already have a plan to collect the Eastern Desolation Godly Treasure. The other 2 are to fight for the benefits of the Scarlet Flame Spiritual Zone. Among the many provinces, the Scarlet Flame Spiritual Zone is a high-grade province with an unusually rich spiritual chi. Many of our Heaven and Earth sects branches cultivate fire attribute technique. If we can seize the Scarlet Flame Sword Sect's foundation, there will be many benefits. Hearing this, many old antiques nodded inwardly. The Scarlet Flame Spiritual Zone was rich in fire attribute treasures. Whether it was fire attribute mineral veins, fire attribute spiritual fires, or fire attribute spiritual roots, they were all things that many fire attribute cultivators coveted. In the past, the Scarlet Flame Sword sect dominated the Scarlet Flame Spiritual Zone. Due to the surrounding circumstances, the Heaven and Earth sect could not make a move. Now it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. On the throne, the Heaven and Earth sect master, Qian Zhiyang, looked on coldly. Without a doubt, Elder Qian represented many interest groups in the sect. At this time, even if he was the Heaven and Earth sect master, he could not forcefully deny it. Otherwise, it would cause a backlash. Qian Zhiyang asked indifferently. What's the second choice? The second choice is those strange existences. Elder Qian's eyes flickered with inexplicable coldness. He was referring to those reincarnators from the creator space who had taken the initiative to seek cooperation. Those people's auras are obviously different from ordinary people. I'm afraid they are guests from the outer region. As everyone knows, the guests from the outer region are otherworldly demons. These people are unscrupulous and plunder the heavens and earth. Killing any one of them would be a huge merit. These merit points would be greatly beneficial to our sect's providence. They are the real fat sheep. Elder Qian's eyes flickered with greed. The existences from the outer region saw the aboriginals as fat sheep. Little did they know that the existences from the Spirit Sea continent also saw the guests from the outer region as fat sheep. Killing any one of them would be blessed by the heavens. If they killed a few more of them, they could even become the son of providence. Many Heaven and Earth sect experts looked at Qian Zhiyang. They did not hide their greed at all. After pondering for a while, Qian Zhiyang nodded. All right. The moment this was said, many Heaven and Earth sect old antiques became restless. However, I have to add one more thing. Those guests from the outer region are all cunning and cruel. If you don't kill them, they will harm you. If you do, you must not let any one of them escape. Yes, we will follow the sect master's instructions. Many Heaven and Earth sect experts left. Only Qian Zhiyang and a few peerless existences were left in the Golden Sun Hall. Zhiyang, are you really going to give up on your plan against Xingqian School? One of the peerless existences asked. He seemed to have a close relationship with Qian Zhiyang. Qian Zhiyang tilted his head and smiled. Great Ancestor, we have to deal with the Star Venerable. What I said just now was just to make the Star Venerable lower their guard. It shouldn't be difficult for Xingqian School to obtain information about what happened in the Golden Sun Hall today. So you are using a spy to make Xingqian School lower their guard. When the time comes, you will strike. The peerless existence was enlightened. Qian Zhiyang smiled coldly. That's right. I am sure that there are spies from Xingqian School among the upper echelons of Heaven and Earth sect. I see. Then we will continue as planned and wait for an opportunity to kill the Star Venerable. Yes, I will also invite a few ancient existences who have a natural conflict with the Star Venerable. This time, we will definitely make the Star Venerable die without a burial ground. Qian Zhiyang's eyes were filled with killing intent. The peerless existences looked at each other. After a while, one of them asked, Then what about the Eastern Wilderness God Treasury? Do you really not need us to do anything? Of course not. That place is also extremely important. Although some people have already taken action, the few of you have your own targets too. However, isn't your target the Eastern Wilderness God Treasury? Then what is it? The peerless existences were shocked. It's the children of destiny of the various sects, especially Xingqian School's Qin Feng and Wang Daoi. Qian Zhiyang's expression was extremely cold. The peerless existences were slightly stunned. This answer was somewhat unexpected. However, a smile appeared on their faces soon after. This sect master was indeed one of the most outstanding sect masters of Heaven and Earth sect. Such a method could be said to be unpredictable and unpredictable. Chapter 1108. Qian Zhiyang's expression was cold. As long as he killed all the geniuses of these sects would not be able to threaten Heaven and Earth sect in the future. Even if heaven and earth sect could not destroy these sects now, they would be able to swallow them up in the future. This was what the few peerless existences were satisfied with. As the sect master, they could not only care about the present. They had to consider the long-term development of the sect. If this plan succeeded, the 10-spirit region would belong to heaven and earth sect sooner or later. Not long after, a few invisible beams of light flew out of heaven and earth sect's mountain gate and headed towards the East Wilderness God Treasury. This is the East Wilderness God Treasury? In front of an ancient mountain range in the realm of stars. Vast and gloomy, the ancient wolf forest. He took a deep breath, and a rich spiritual energy rushed toward him. There were a few exotic flowers and herbs that emitted a strange spiritual light, looking very beautiful. If this was in the past, such a mountain range would most likely become a courtyard or a foothold for some aristocratic sections. However, with the arrival of the Golden Era, such beautiful places could be found everywhere. As the dense spirit chi replaced the originally chaotic and violent essence chi. Some extreme Tao experts could feel that the entire world was evolving towards the barbaric era. The earth became purer and was filled with life essence. However, it was also extremely heavy. The mountains became taller and more beautiful, majestic and heavy. The originally ordinary mountains started to transform. The earth meridians turned into spirit meridians and nurtured spirit chi. Naturally, many ordinary herbs in the mountains absorbed the spirit chi from the earth meridians and turned into spirit herbs and spirit roots. A chain reaction occurred. The ordinary beasts in the mountains devoured these spirit herbs and spirit root. They also awakened their bloodlines and became spirit beasts and ferocious beasts. This change was not fast. Ordinary people would not be able to sense it. However, some experts were the first to sense it. Qin Feng was no exception. Qin Feng scanned the vast land. He could foresee that with the arrival of this spirit chi wave, the entire world would change drastically. With the arrival of the fiend gods, it could even recreate the ancient era. It could even recreate the primordial age and the primordial age. If the primordial age were to descend, the golden era would become an unprecedented era. Unfortunately, in Qin Feng's memory, the golden age only returned to the primordial age. Moreover, it was extremely short and then the essence was lost, reduced to a wasteland. If we can push the golden era directly into the Grand Mist world and complete the final contribution to the Grand Mist world, it wouldn't be impossible for us to become the Grand Mist Master Gods with the help of heaven and earth. Qin Feng had some other thoughts in his mind. There were different grades of Master Gods, and the primordial Chaos Master God was undoubtedly one of the higher-ranked existences. Even if it was the Limestone Master God or the Jade Parasol Master God, they were nothing more than trash in front of the Grand Mist Master God. Rumble! A black divine light flew out, and a huge Kuan Pung flew out. It suddenly blasted the mountain in front of Yi Ding. Then, Yi Ding unleashed a series of extremely mysterious runes. Visible to the naked eye, a gray door with chaotic primordial chi swirling around it appeared on the mountain. According to the information from my people, the human ancestors' prison is in the two-realm abyss behind the chaos portal. Yi Ding looked at Qin Feng, his forehead covered with sweat. Opening the primal chaos portal was an enormous burden for him. Two-realm abyss? Qin Feng narrowed his eyes and muttered softly. The two-realm abyss didn't refer to a specific region, but a general one. The two-realm abyss was a gap between the Spirit Sea continent and the outer region. This gap was extremely dangerous. It could be an endless abyss or chaos. However, it was rumored that many peerless almighties had opened up continents in the two-realm abyss as side palaces. The laws of heaven and earth intertwined here, and it was extremely chaotic and terrifying. However, it was a rare place for a level 15 expert to cultivate. Throughout history, level 15 experts had been searching for the two-realm abyss, but very few could actually find it. Moreover, the two-realm abyss was different from ordinary grotto heavens or worlds. It was extremely unstable and could be destroyed at any time. It was hard to imagine that the great emperor of the eastern wilderness had built the human ancestors' prison in the two-realm abyss. Qin Feng stepped forward and suddenly glanced at Yi Ding, who was beside him. "Aren't you going in?" Yi Ding didn't look like he was going to enter. The two-realm abyss is probably filled with level 15 experts. "With my strength, I'm afraid," Yi Ding smiled bitterly. "Don't worry, I'm here. As long as you're by my side, no one can do anything to you." Qin Feng's eyes flickered. The goal of this trip was not so much to fight for the Eastern Wilderness divine treasure, but to fight for Providence with Gong Ao. Yi Ding and Gong Ao had a great Providence connection. Without Yi Ding, he would have one less trump card to deal with Gong Ao. "I heard that the great emperor of the Eastern Wilderness had killed many powerful beings of the Kuan Ping race. He even took away the Kuan Ping race's most precious treasure, the Kuan Ping scripture, and turned it into a collection. If you can get the Kuan Ping scripture," Qin Feng paused and looked at Yi Ding. "Moreover, I'm sure that the North Deep Saint will not miss this opportunity. After all, the Kuan Ping scripture is something he must get." Yi Ding's eyes flickered and he smiled bitterly. Yi Ding is willing to listen to junior brother Qin Feng. "Okay." Yi Ding nodded. The two figures entered the Chaos Gate like invisible flowing light. The sky seemed to be spinning, and the light seemed to have dimmed. When they opened their eyes again, a majestic scene appeared in front of them. The first thing they saw was thousands of miles of yellow sand. Its power was overwhelming, and it was accompanied by the roar of the wind. There was an abnormally heavy force that was pulling at their bodies. "This is Wutu Divine Sand, a treasure condensed from Wutu Divine Essence. This place formed a desert?" Yi Ding looked at the terrifying sandstorm in astonishment. Wutu Divine Sand was extremely heavy and difficult to condense. Generally speaking, even if an entire mountain was refined, only a few drops of Wutu Divine Sand could be obtained. The entire desert in front of them was actually this kind of earth-type treasure. The most terrifying thing was the wind of the Yellow Mountain. They did not know what kind of divine wind could blow so much Wutu Divine Sand. This power was not inferior to the attack of a rank 14 expert. Yi Ding's expression changed. His body spun and two fingers shot out. Streaks of faint black mystic water divine thunder blasted above the sandstorm. Countless thunder roared. It resounded through the sky. However, to his astonishment, not only did the earthen yellow sandstorm not collapse, it grew even stronger instead. It was so overwhelming that it covered the clouds and the moon. It was going to bury the two of them alive. Kuan Ping swallows the sky. Yi Ding's eyes were ferocious. He roared, and a faint black divine light rushed out from his body, turning into a huge Kuan Ping. It opened its mouth and swallowed the countless sandstorms in the void. The huge Kuan Ping seemed to have formed a whirlpool. Countless sandstorms rolled into the Kuan Ping's mouth and were swallowed by it. The sandstorm in the sky was gradually disappearing. However, at this moment, Yi Ding was sweating like he had indigestion. His body was bearing the weight of countless divine mountains, and he could not help but sink into the ground. Swallowing the sky too much? Are you going to explode? There's more later. Chapter 1109. Kuan Ping's Ultimate Profound, Refine the Heavens and Transform the Earth. As Qin Feng frowned and was about to lend a hand, Yi Ding roared out loud. A rich aura of true spirit erupted from his body from the depths of his bloodline. Rich Kuan Ping divine power surged. A terrifying black and red vertical eye appeared on his forehead. As the rich Kuan Ping divine power surged, the illusory Kuan Ping phantom above his head seemed to materialize. An ancient and boundless aura that came from the upper reaches of the river of time surged outwards. Yi Ding's aura skyrocketed. He instantly broke through the limits of a 12th level World King. 13th level Saint's Son. The strength of a 14th level Supreme was broken through. Passing through Yi Ding's illusory Kuan Pring divine power, Qin Feng's eyes seemed to see a vast and boundless world. This vast world was like the ultimate end of all world. It was filled with endless nothingness. Void Law World. Qin Feng had seen him use this move before. It was able to swallow powerhouses of the same level. This was a different inner world from an ordinary one. Normally, the ultimate goal of a martial artist was to ascend to a divine kingdom and transform it into a complete world. However, the Void Law World was different. This Law World was a special kind of inner world, and the direction of its evolution was not to become a complete world. Rather, it was to evolve a certain ability to the extreme. This was also a path. The special ability of the Void Law World was that it surpassed the digestive and swallowing abilities of an ordinary world. This was similar to a different dimension's esophagus, able to digest all existences. Even if a demon god or master god were to fall into it, they would still be thoroughly digested. Yi Ding's Void Law World was extremely strong. Qin Feng could feel that it had also reached the peak of a large boundary, and its digestive ability far surpassed that of an ordinary divine kingdom. In this aspect, it was enough to be placed on par with his Chaos God world. The rich earth divine sand howled in the divine wind. However, it was rapidly refined into pure essence energy and then transformed into Yi Ding's Kuan Peng divine power. At a rate visible to the naked eye, the sweat on Yi Ding's forehead slowly disappeared. His entire body surged with divine power, and he was in high spirit. It was clear that he had obtained many benefits. Qin Feng's eyes flickered. Now that I don't know where the inheritance of the great emperor of Eastern Wilderness is hidden in the two-realm abyss, I might as well take advantage of it. The Wutu divine sand is a good treasure. It's condensed from acquired Wutu essence, extracted from the chaotic essence. Although it's not Xiantian essence, I can still absorb some of it into the chaotic divine world to strengthen my foundation. With a thought, Qin Feng circulated his divine power, and a huge light blue vortex seemed to appear around him. Rumble! A series of thunderous noises were heard. The thick yellow Wutu divine sand appeared like dragons and sank into the vortex. In the depths of the world of primal chaos, countless grains of divine sand fell from the sky into the sea. As the grains of sand fell into the water, they stirred up the seawater and caused it to surge violently. Underwater mountain ranges with dragon ridges protruding out appeared in the seawater. Some even turned into land and turned into island. Many of them were digested by the chaotic divine realm on the spot, turning into pure earth element energy and fusing with the world. Visible to the naked eye, many mountains and rivers in the chaotic continent and even the 7 realms became taller and more solid. The 5 elements were born together, and the entire chaotic divine world became more solid. Large patches of yellow sand were sucked away, as if some unknown guardians were alerted. Deep underground, a low roar could be heard. Kacha kacha! The ground cracked, and a fissure stretched from the two of them to thousands of feet away. Boom! Like a sudden clap of thunder, a yellow light shot out from the ground. Then, Qin Feng and Yi Ding saw a huge yellow copper hammer the size of a mountain coming toward them. Gravity suppression. Law of suppression. On the spot, the two of them only felt a huge force suppressing their bodies from all directions. Caught off guard, Yi Ding's clothes were drenched in sweat. There was no way to dodge it. Law of space, star-splitting finger. Qin Feng's expression did not change. He stretched out a hand, and with a flick of his fingers, an invisible light streaked across the sky. As the invisible light streaked across the sky, a huge galaxy appeared in front of the two of them. In an instant, the copper hammer seemed to be separated from them by a boundless galaxy. That heavy copper hammer as big as a mountain became extremely small in an instant. 14th level space profundity, star-splitting finger? Yi Ding sucked in a deep breath. As someone who also comprehended the law of space, Yi Ding was no stranger to this 14th level space profundity. Roar. A primitive and savage roar came from the ground. Accompanied by a depression in the ground, another yellow light shot out from the depths of the earth, and a huge figure appeared in midair. Earth Giant, no, that's a hybrid of the Earth Giant and the human ancestor. Yi Ding stared dumbfounded at the savage existence that appeared in the galaxy. The giant's body was dozens of feet tall, draped in beast skin, and a ferocious necklace made from wild beasts. Its huge eyes were filled with cruelty and coldness. Intruder, die! With a furious roar, the giant grabbed the copper hammer that was flying in the sky and smashed it down heavily. It smashed into the galaxy. The huge galaxy fluctuated, setting off boundless waves. A crack appeared from where it was hit, extending towards Qin Feng and Yi Ding. Yi Ding's expression changed. He hurriedly withdrew the Kuan Ping phantom and was about to flee. Qin Feng smiled coldly. A mere 13th level mixed blood dares to attack me. He pointed his finger and pressed it on the galaxy beside him. Law of space, space crack. The boundless galaxy changed under his finger, turning into countless star cones. The countless star cones merged and condensed, turning into a ray of starlight that struck the giant. It pierced through the giant's forehead. A loud bang was heard. The giant's head exploded and fell to the ground, shaking the earth and mountains. The giant no longer had any signs of life. With just one blow, this 13th level giant was dead. Looking at the scattered flesh and blood, Yi Ding was shocked. After a long while, he muttered, "Why is there an earth giant here? Didn't the earth giants go missing in the primordial age? I'm afraid there's more than one earth giant here." Closing his eyes slightly, Qin Feng quietly sensed with his divine consciousness. Many strong life forces appeared in his divine consciousness. Yi Ding murmured, "It's said that the great emperor of the eastern wilderness captured many powerful races to be the guardians of the human ancestors' prison. There are 6 levels in the human ancestors' prison, and each level is guarded by a powerful race. Looks like these races are not extinct yet." Qin Feng smiled faintly. "I'm afraid not only are they not extinct, but they're also living quite comfortably." Just as Qin Feng's voice fell, a series of furious roars resounded from the horizon. It was as if the earth was shaking in the distance. Many majestic and burly primitive giants leaped over, crossing hundreds of miles in one leap. Yi Ding's face turned pale. These earth giants were all experts in controlling the power of the earth. In such a place with abundant earth essence energy, each of them was comparable to some 14th level supreme martial artists. There's more later. Chapter 11:10. Hundreds of ancient earth giants appeared in the sky. Each of them was like a giant. They were like the ancient giants hunting the sun. Their strength was astonishing. Their expressions changed slightly as they scanned with their divine senses. The weakest of these giants was a rank 8 saint. The strongest was the leading giant. Upon closer inspection, the two of them had strange expressions. That was a rather sexy female giant. Her figure was extremely tall and slender, and her chest billowed like waves. Her devilish figure was accompanied by an extremely beautiful face. At this moment, her beautiful face was covered with frost. The most exciting thing was that she was only wearing a short skirt wrapped in animal skin. Her slender and straight legs, if those legs were wrapped around his waist, who knew how ecstasy it would be? I really didn't expect there to be such a great beauty in this godforsaken place. Yi Ding muttered with a strange look in his eyes. Young Master Yi was obviously tempted. Glancing at Yi Ding, Qin Feng looked ahead and said faintly, "A great beauty is a great beauty, but she's also not a good person." The female giant held a huge khaki bow in her hand. The bow exuded strong khaki law fluctuations. This was an Earth Queen of the 14th stage. When she looked at the huge river of stars, her expression changed. A trace of fear flashed in the eyes of the Earth Queen. Among the various elements, space was king. Having a 14th level space elemental as an enemy was definitely a headache. They were only a medium-sized tribe in the Twilight Desert. They had no ability to deal with such an existence. Rumble. At this moment the earth shook violently. Figures came from afar and landed beside the Earth Queen in an instant. An Earth Giant elder with a steel-like beard glanced at the crack not far away and the headless corpse on the ground. A trace of anger appeared. Patriarch, these invaders killed the people of the Bronzebeard tribe. We can't let them go. Otherwise, the people of the Bronzebeard tribe will die in our territory. We can't explain it to them. The old Earth Giant leaned on a huge cane and stared at Qin Feng with a stern look on his face. The Bronzebeard tribe was one of the top Earth Giant tribes in the Twilight Desert. Their strength was far above the Primordial Tree tribe. The Bronzebeard tribe had always been looking for an opportunity to devour the Primordial Tree tribe. The Bronzebeard tribe would never let go of such an opportunity. That's right, Patriarch. Kill these invaders. These invaders burned, killed, and plundered. Their methods are savage. We absolutely can't let them go. Many Earth Giants had cold looks in their eyes. There were even some who revealed a greedy look. Half a month ago, the ancestor god in the center of the continent had sent down an oracle. Anyone who killed the invaders would receive the ancestor god's favor and blessing. If he killed enough of them, he could even be guided to the extraterritorial upper worlds and escape from this prison. Queen Mother Earth's eyes moved. Escaping from this prison was the dream of every race on the continent. However, even with the Primordial Tree tribe's most precious treasure, the earth-suppressing bow, she wasn't confident that she could deal with that 14th stage supremacy of the space element. What? You seem to be hesitating. Right at this moment, an unfamiliar and cold voice sounded in the ears of Queen Mother Earth. Not good. Queen Mother Earth's expression changed. Silently, a black-robed man appeared from the void a few dozen steps away. Qin Feng looked at the Queen of the Earth who was close by. He was a little embarrassed to find that his figure was actually not as big as her chest. Kill! The Earth Giant elder who was holding a wooden staff on the side had a fierce look in his eyes. A giant palm slammed down heavily toward Qin Feng. The power of 14th stage supremacy erupted without any concealment. Qin Feng raised his head and looked at the giant palm that suddenly blasted over his head. A sneer flickered in his eyes. Space law, freeze. A faint voice came from his mouth. The giant palm was about to reach the top of Qin Feng's head, but it instantly froze in the void. The Earth Giant elder's face showed a trace of horror. He suddenly realized that he had lost control of that hand. No matter how he tried to use the Earth Divine power to attack, it was useless. Space law, tear. Qin Feng's expression was cold. Cold words came out from his mouth, as if it was a command of heaven and earth. An invisible wave appeared around that giant arm. Like billions of invisible space blades, an invisible light suddenly tore the giant palm apart amidst the Earth Giant elder's miserable scream. It went along the arm and bombarded his chest. His entire chest was torn apart, his internal organs were exposed and pierced through. This giant elder couldn't bear such pain and couldn't help but howl to the sky. Elder! At this moment, the hundreds of Earth Giants behind Queen Mother Earth rushed toward Qin Feng with red eyes like fighting bulls. Qin Feng smiled coldly and channeled the power of the water law. A terrifying power that exceeded 15th stage supremacy instantly appeared on his body. Like a huge ocean, it bombarded the hundreds of Earth Giants who were rushing over. Boom! Hundreds of figures flew backward and retreated hundreds of feet. Many of the weaker Earth Giants were shocked. Their internal organs ruptured, and they spat out mouthfuls of blood mist. They couldn't help but kneel on the ground. On the field, the only one who didn't retreat Queen Mother Earth looked at the black-clothed little guy dozens of steps away with a grave expression. She didn't expect this black-clothed man to be so terrifying. Just relying on his aura to seriously injure hundreds of clan elites, I'm afraid he's an existence that exceeds 15th stage. Queen Mother Earth held the earth-suppressing bow in her hand tightly. Her fear of the black-clothed man in front of her rose to the extreme. Qin Feng's gaze fell on Queen Mother Earth, as well as many earth giants who were crawling up on the ground while enduring serious injuries. Whoever moves dies. His words were as cold as the ice of eternity. All the earth giants instinctively stiffened their limbs and didn't dare to move. Xiao. In the void, the sound of clothes fluttering sounded. Yi Ding silently appeared beside Qin Feng. Looking at Queen Mother Earth in front of him, he paused for a few seconds on her chest. Yi Ding turned around naturally and stood beside Qin Feng with a smile. Tell me, who are you, where is this place, and what's the matter with the invaders you speak of? Why are you so eager and greedy when you see the two of us? Qin Feng raised his eyes and looked at the queen, with a trace of supreme majesty that surpassed heaven and earth. Queen Mother Earth's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Buzz. An invisible buzzing sound came from the earth-suppressing bow that Queen Mother Earth was holding tightly. An invisible force trembled and shook the void. Qin Feng followed the fluctuation and landed on the huge earth-suppressing bow. The power of the Earth Rule, an Earth origin treasure? Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a strange color, but after sensing it slightly, he shook his head. No! Chapter 11:11. To be more precise, it was an incomplete Earth origin treasure. On the Spirit Sea continent, there was indeed a legendary Earth origin ultimate treasure. It was said to be an origin treasure nurtured by the vast Earth and had the terrifying power to injure a Lord God. That treasure was called the Earth Emperor Bow. Its owner was an Archean expert, the Archean Earth Emperor. In the legends, with the fall of the Earth Emperor, he disintegrated into 3 parts and fell into the hands of some expert. The 3 parts were the Earth Emperor Pearl, the Earth-suppressing bow, and the Sky-splitter arrow. Among the 3 parts, the Earth Emperor Pearl once appeared and fell into the hands of a human emperor of the Archean ancestors, becoming his Tao-proving treasure. As for the Earth-suppressing bow and the Sky-splitter arrow, there were many rumors, but most of them were false myths and legends. Qin Feng didn't expect that the bow would fall into the hands of the Earth Giants and follow them to the two-world abyss. But Qin Feng didn't care. If it was the complete Earth Emperor bow, he might have to retreat. Now it was just the Earth-suppressing bow. Perhaps its power was comparable to some Khanate cardinal treasures, but it wasn't much of a threat to him. On the side, Yi Ding glanced at the Queen of the Earth, whose baleful aura was getting heavier and heavier between her shapely eyebrows, and his eyes spun as he instantly spoke. Your Highness, I advise you not to move. My junior brother's temperament is not good. Once you move, I'm afraid all of you will die here. Qin Feng glanced at Yi Ding. Yi Ding's eyes occasionally swept across the Earth Queen's gentle demeanor, and his mouth twitched slightly. Could it be that this guy has taken a liking to the Earth Queen? Qin Feng was a little amused. The difference in size was so big, but it didn't stop this young Master Ye's lust. But maybe I can make him sacrifice his body to find out the key. These natives have guarded the human ancestor prison for many years, so they should be quite familiar with this place. This was a breakthrough. With a change of mind, Qin Feng mobilized a trace of the power of the chaotic divine world. A huge force of heaven and earth law supported him, and his aura skyrocketed, instantly increasing by more than 10 times. Under this momentum, the entire area of thousands of miles seemed to be frozen in the yellow sand. The group of earth giants looked extremely shocked. The palms of the leader, Queen Mother Earth, were sweating. Her beautiful and charming face was filled with shock and horror. After a moment of silence, the Queen of the Earth raised her head, bowed slightly, and bowed deeply. Respected expert, I apologize to you on behalf of the tribe for the recklessness of our people. I beg for your forgiveness. Smart man. A faint smile flashed across Qin Feng's eyes. If the queen didn't know what was good for her, he wouldn't mind wiping out this tribe of giants and harvesting a treasure that was equivalent to a Khanate cardinal treasure. As for your questions, I can answer them on your behalf. This is the Twilight Desert of the Divine Tree Continent. According to legends, the Twilight Desert is endless. Even the strongest king of the earth cannot find the border of this desert. Our tribe is a medium-sized tribe in the Twilight Desert. If we were the primordial tree tribe, the overlord here would be the Bronzebeard tribe. The earth giant that the two experts killed in our territory belongs to the Bronzebeard tribe. As for why the two experts are called invaders, it's because many strange experts appeared in the Divine Tree Continent not long ago. They plundered everywhere and killed countless tribes. The central ancestor god issued a divine decree that anyone who can kill the invaders will be rewarded handsomely and can even ascend to the upper realm. Listening to the Queen of the Earth's narration, Qin Feng's eyes revealed a trace of surprise, and he said calmly, "Who is the central ancestor god, and what is this about ascending to the upper realm?" The Queen of the Earth glanced at Qin Feng, and her eyes flashed as she spoke. The central ancestor god is a giant tree that existed since the beginning of the world. He is incomparably huge and has boundless divine power. He has incredible power. As for ascending to the upper realm, after a slight hesitation, the Queen of the Earth raised her eyes and saw Qin Feng's cold expression. According to the ancient legends, our continent is a huge prison used to imprison some extremely terrifying experts. The laws of heaven and earth here are incomplete, and the luck and providence are not perfect. No matter how strong a cultivator is, he can't become a god. Only by ascending to the eastern wilderness outside the region can one obtain a deity position there. Speaking of this, the Queen of the Earth's eyes flashed with a trace of envy. Eastern wilderness? Qin Feng and Yi Ding looked at each other. Could this be a foreign continent that the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor created? It could give birth to a deity position? The two of them were extremely surprised. There were many foreign continents, but it was extremely rare for a foreign continent to give birth to a deity position like the Spirit Sea continent. This was really an incredible piece of information. Rumble. At this moment, Qin Feng raised his eyebrows and looked at the horizon. Seeing Qin Feng's unusual movement, Yi Ding and the Queen of the Earth reflexively looked in the same direction. The yellow sand danced as an invisible airflow swept across. That invisible airflow was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it could see half a mile away. A loud bang resounded. The ground cracked open, and a tall and burly female giant rushed out from the ground. A hurried voice came from afar. "Your Highness, bad news." "What's the matter, Chun Hua?" The Queen of the Earth frowned. She supported the burly female giant who swooped down. "Didn't I ask you to guard our tribe's encampment? Why are you here?" This was a very young female giant. Her strength was not bad, and her aura was over level 10. Her appearance was relatively delicate and pretty, especially her towering breasts. As her chest rose and fell, it was a magnificent sight. "Your Highness, bad news. Just now, the third prince of the Bronzebeard tribe came. He brought a large group of people and surrounded our primordial tree tribe. He asked you to take our tribe's treasure and marry him. Otherwise, he will massacre our tribe." The female giant panted and looked extremely angry. "The third prince?" The Queen of the Earth's face sank. The female giant glanced to the side and saw Qin Feng and Yi Ding. She only glanced at them before her gaze fell on the Queen of the Earth again. She said with a gloomy expression, "Your Highness, Lord Magus Berserker said that the third prince came prepared this time. He brought a few famous level 14 powerhouses from the Bronzebeard tribe. You must not go back and fall into their trap. Lord Magus Berserker wants you to go to the Silver Tribe and seek refuge with your aunt. The Queen of the Earth's face was a little ugly. How could she give up on the Primordial Tree Tribe when all the old and young were in the tribe? Moreover, if she sought refuge with the Silver Tribe, the Primordial Tree Tribe would be completely wiped out. She would no longer be able to keep the suppressing ground bow in her hands. At that time, as a descendant of the ancient land's royal bloodline, she would not have a good ending. The royal bloodline had always been the target of other tribes' covetousness. Even if it was a fallen royal. There's more later. Chapter 11-12. The royal family wasn't just a symbol of status. The most precious thing was that it traced back to its root. It had the pure bloodline of the first generation of Earth Giants, the ancestor of the Earth. If one could awaken the bloodline power of the ancestor of the Earth, they would be the god of Earth. If one could marry her back to the tribe and dual cultivate day and night, they might be able to use the royal blood to purify the bloodline in their body. Naturally, the royal bloodline that had been passed down since ancient times became the most sought after of all the tribes. Even if there was a 1 in 10,000 chance, some experts were willing to try. The Bronzebeard tribe was the overlord of this region. However, they weren't born in the royal family and didn't have the royal bloodline. Naturally, they had their eyes on the current queen of the Primordial Tree Tribe. The Primordial Tree Tribe was a branch of the Earth's royal family. It had migrated to this desert and had a long history. It had once prospered. When it prospered in the past, its forces were spread all over this sand state. Even the Bronzebeard tribe had to bow their hands and submit to them. However, the transition from extreme prosperity to decline was also very fast. Following the accidental ascension of one of the kings of the earth, the Primordial Tree Tribe gradually declined from prosperity. When it came to the Queen of Earth's generation, there was a shortage of young people, and they were completely suppressed by the Bronzebeard tribe near the Sand State. Naturally, all the resources of the Primordial Tree Tribe, including the royal bloodline, had become a fat piece of meat in the mouth of the Bronzebeard tribe. The Bronzebeard tribe was at its peak. The Queen of Earth was very clear that even her aunt had an extraordinary status in another large tribe. However, the Silver Tribe would definitely not make a move for her and become enemies with the Bronzebeard tribe. While hesitating, her gaze suddenly fell on the black-clothed youth not far away. A glimmer of hope flashed through her eyes. "Honorable expert, I wonder if you are willing to accept my employment." "Employment? You want to hire me as a fighter?" Qin Feng looked at the Queen of Earth in surprise. The Queen of Earth placed one hand on her chest and bowed. "Honorable expert, the Primordial Tree Tribe is one of the large tribes with the inheritance of ancient tribes. We have an extraordinary foundation, and I believe it will be of some help to you. Moreover, I promise that if you can help the Primordial Tree Tribe defeat the Bronzebeard tribe, I am willing to give you an innate earth essence as the tribe's treasure." The Queen of Earth looked at Qin Feng and was unusually sincere. Many of the anxious great earth giants at the side stood up and looked at Qin Feng and Qin Feng. Many of them revealed anxious and hopeful expressions. They had clearly seen Qin Feng's methods a moment ago. He had only lifted his finger, and a group of people had been bombarded into pieces by him. Such methods were absolutely not inferior to those of the strongest people of the big tribes. At the very least, he was a fifth-order powerhouse. Qin Feng's heart trembled as he pondered. This divine tree continent is extremely mysterious. There are all kinds of races and ancient existences living here. If I want to find clues about the Eastern Wilderness divine treasure, I'm afraid I'll need a lot of time. Why don't I enter this Primordial Tree Tribe first? Just as she said, they have a part of the ancient tribe's inheritance. They must know a lot of secrets. Furthermore, there was a piece of innate earth essence as a reward. Innate earth essence was formed from the innate earth yuan qi. Such innate treasures were extremely beneficial to the celestial kingdom. This was especially true for the essence of earth, which was one of the 5 elemental essences. It had a special significance. Then let's go. Queen Mother Earth raised her head, overjoyed. The group hurried towards the oasis where the primordial tree tribe was located. Along the way, Qin Feng learned a little about the situation in this sandbar. The twilight desert was vast, and many races were gathered here. The Earth Giants were only one of the larger races. There were also a few other major forces. Among them were the monster race, the rock giant race, and the innate humans. Most of the monster race were earth elemental monsters that lived in the desert. The rock giant race lived in the rocky basin that was tens of thousands of miles wide. The innate humans were extremely spread out, and their tribes in the desert were no less than the Earth Giant. Qin Feng focused on the innate humans. According to Queen Mother Earth, the innate humans were divided into 9 bloodlines, and they were all descendants of the primordial human ancestor race. However, the human ancestor race's body had degenerated. Only the top innate humans could return to the innate human ancestor race's true body. Of course, apart from that, Qin Feng focused on the Bronzebeard tribe. The Bronzebeard tribe had been rooted in this sandbar for a long time. They had even built a huge desert city and had the reputation of being the ruler of this sandbar. If not for the existence of the Silver tribe, they would have ruled this sandbar long ago. Their king was the Copper King, who was rumored to be a level 15 Earth elemental controller. He was also the only level 15 elemental controller in this sandbar. As for the situation outside the sandbar, Queen Mother Earth did not explain clearly. She only said that this dusk sandbar was divided into 36 sandbars, and each sandbar had a dominator level force. During the conversation, in the middle of the desert, a small patch of green land appeared in front of everyone. In the middle of the boundless yellow sand, a small oasis appeared. This was abnormally eye-catching. A small group of stone buildings appeared in the middle of the green land. At this moment, many abnormally tall mutated beasts were surrounding the huge oasis, and in the blink of an eye, large areas of the oasis were destroyed. Seeing this, the Earth Giants beside Qin Feng were enraged. This group of goddamn bastards, how dare they destroy our oasis? Your Highness, we will fight it out with them. Many Earth Giants were panting like thunder, and they were like volcanoes that were about to erupt. Loud shouts could be heard from afar. Hand over Queen Mother Earth! Hand over Queen Mother Earth! Like an avalanche, many women and children were tied to the ground, and they were all in a sorry state. Many children were so frightened that they cried loudly. Queen Mother Earth was furious. She shouted at the group of knights, "Copper Flame, if you have the guts, fight me to the death. What's the big deal about bullying a group of women and children?" Boom! Boom! Sensing the commotion here, a young Earth Giant with bronze-colored skin sneered on top of a giant beast. He wore a bone bracelet made of beast bones, his face was smeared with 3-colored tongue oil, and his eyes were like an eagle's. He smiled at his trusted subordinates around him. "Our queen can't stand it anymore. Let's go and meet our future Queen Mother. Your Highness is wise to set up such a scheme. The Primordial Wood tribe won't be able to escape. Yes, Your Highness is worthy of being the #1 warrior of our Bronzebeard tribe. He is both intelligent and brave. Queen Mother Earth being able to marry His Highness the 3rd Prince is a blessing accumulated from several lifetimes. Her trifling Primordial Wood tribe wants to stop our Bronzebeard tribe from expanding. She is overestimating herself. With Queen Mother Earth's body, the 3rd Prince will definitely have a high chance of breaking through to level 14. Your subordinates will pay our respects to Your Highness." The group of people laughed unscrupulously. In the middle, the 3rd Prince Copper Flame was even more complacent. He looked at Queen Mother Earth's beautiful and tall body in the distance, full of passion. "There's more later." Chapter 11-13. Hundreds of riders galloped over like thousands of mountains. A terrifying air current gushed out, causing sand to dance in the air. Yuan Yuner, I've already said that you will become my consort sooner or later. You see, the result is already decided. You can't escape from me. Tong Yan's smug voice could be heard from afar. The huge cloud of dust stopped a few hundred feet away. Giant beasts in the shape of lions were revealed. Strangely, these giant beasts had extremely majestic scales on their bodies. Their sawls were thick, and their earthy yellow noses were loose like gusts of wind. The rock lion was one of the best mounts in the desert. Only some of the most tyrannical earth giant tribes had such majestic rock lion mount. Junior brother, they don't come with good intentions. Yi Ding's expression changed slightly. He found that with his level 12 cultivation, he was actually at the bottom of this group of rock lion riders. Many of them were level 12 ancient world kings, and many of them were level 13 holy children. Behind that prince, there were actually 4 supreme martial artists of the 14th level. If this force was placed outside, it would be comparable to some of the top second-rate sects. Qin Feng wasn't surprised. This was within his expectations. The Earth Giants were one of the 100 ancient races. Most of the ancient races were peerless and had extraordinary lifespans. They could easily live for tens of thousands of years. It was easy for them to accumulate some powerhouses. Qin Feng looked at Queen Mother Earth and said indifferently, "Your Highness, how do you want to deal with them? Kill them or cripple them? You are the employer. You have the final say." Queen Mother Earth took a deep breath. Just as she was about to speak, Tong Yan's surprised and joyful voice sounded. "Intruders, there are actually 2 intruders here. It seems that the ancestor god favors me. I am destined to make a fortune today." Qin Feng turned around and a pair of huge eyes fell on him greedily. He didn't hide the heat and killing intent in his eyes. "Yuan Yuner, I didn't expect your dowry to be so generous. You are indeed a daughter of the imperial family. You bring fortune to your husband." Amidst his loud laughter, Tong Yan's blazing eyes landed on Qin Feng and Yi Ding. "Tong Yi, Tong Yuan, Tong Kun, Tong Shan, 4 generals, hurry up and take down those 2 invaders." "Yes, your highness." Behind him, 4 knights with dense auras of LV-14 descended from the rock lion and walked straight towards Qin Feng and Yi Shiwen with ferocious grins. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. Before he even arrived, his Earth domain had already covered a radius of 1,000 miles, locking down the void. Qin Feng turned his head to look at the gloomy Queen of the Earth and said, "Forget it, your highness. You don't have to choose. I'll choose for you. They're all going to die today." He shook his head slightly. A soft blue light appeared on Qin Feng's body, and the power of the 5th Order suddenly erupted from his body. Like a vast ocean, it easily tore apart the Earth domain that stretched for thousands of miles. Bang! The faint yellow Great Earth Spirit domain was torn apart like a mosquito net. A trace of fear flashed across the faces of Tong Yi, Tong Yuan, Tong Kun, and Tong Shan. Almost instinctively, their figures paused and drilled into the ground. Earth giants were favored by the earth, and their speed was extremely fast in the earth. As long as they drilled into the earth, even a 5th order existence wouldn't be able to kill them easily. Heaven rank law, life extraction. A large blue light appeared on Qin Feng's body. With a point of his finger, streaks of blue light shrouded the 4 14th Order Earth Giants who were trying to escape like meteors. "No!" An extremely terrifying scream rang out, as if it was a dying beast. In the rich light blue brilliance, the bodies of the 400-meter-tall Earth Giants shrank visibly. In a few breaths, under the gaze of hundreds of Earth Giants, they turned into withered skin bags. As the wind blew, they instantly dissipated into nothingness. Whether it was the people of the Primordial Tree tribe or the powerhouses of the Bronzebeard tribe, they all stared blankly at this scene. 4 peak 14th stage powerhouses were actually killed in a single blow in an instant. How terrifying was this? Even if the Earth Giants had a strong foundation, they would only be able to produce a 14th order powerhouse once in 1,000 years. In the Bronzebeard tribe, there were no more than 5 14th order powerhouses. Needless to say, the Primordial Tree tribe only had one 14th order elder apart from Queen Mother Earth. Oh no, this person is too terrifying. He must be a 15th order powerhouse. We must inform the powerhouses of the Holy City to come. Third Prince Tong Yen gasped in his heart. He was also an extremely decisive person. A trace of fear flashed in his eyes. In an instant, the yellow light on his body flickered rapidly and sank into the earth like water droplet. Oh no, Tong Yen is escaping. On the side, the 14th Order Earth Giant Elder beside Queen Mother Earth watched Tong Yan's disappearing figure and had a drastic change in expression. Queen Mother Earth hurriedly said to Qin Feng, "Don't let him escape. He knows the identity of you invaders. If he notifies the Holy City, we'll be in trouble." "Don't worry, he won't be able to escape," Qin Feng sneered. His divine telekinesis had already locked onto Tong Yan's aura. In his eyes, Tong Yan, who was fleeing rapidly in the earth, was as clear as a torch. Heaven rank law, black water devouring. The light blue brilliance on his body transformed into a black light and sank into the earth like a stream of light. An extremely shrill scream came from the depths of the earth and abruptly stopped. In the divine telekinesis of Queen Mother Earth and the other elder, a terrifying black light of the water rule swept across the earth and the third Prince Tong Yen, who was fleeing rapidly on the earth. The insufferably arrogant third prince suddenly turned into a pool of black water as if he was made of water. Even his divine soul was completely melted by the black light. What an evil power! It can even corrode and penetrate the earth rule. The two powerhouses shuddered. In the world, according to the principle of mutual promotion and suppression, earth should suppress water. Not only did the earth rule not delay Tong Yan's death, but it also hastened his death. In particular, one could see his attainments in the water rule. With such strength, even the strongest powerhouse of the Bronzebeard tribe might not be a match for him. Only the powerhouses of the Holy City might be a match for him. After casually killing Tong Yen, Qin Feng's gaze fell on the remaining Bronzebeard tribe powerhouses. Light blue divine light swept across, and in the blink of an eye, the Bronzebeard tribe powerhouses were turned into dust. Seeing this scene, many Earth Giants breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, they felt a little sad. In the eyes of these true powerhouses, their lives were too fragile. After killing the people of the Bronzebeard tribe, Qin Feng did not attack again. Instead, he stayed by the small lake in the oasis. As for the mess of the Primordial Tree tribe, the Primordial Tree tribe would naturally deal with it. A day later, Queen Mother Earth came to the lakeside with a jade yellow box. She shrunk her body and looked just a little taller than the average woman. However, her perfect curves were still quite hot. In particular, her twin peaks wrapped in tiger skin and her perky buttocks wrapped in a short skirt could be said to be stunning. Her wild nature released a wild sexiness that made people want to conquer her. Beside her, Yi Ding followed her every step like a dissolute young master. His gaze occasionally fell on Queen Mother Earth with a hint of passion. "Young master, this is the connate earth spirit that I promised to give you earlier." A burst of fragrance entered Qin Feng's nose. Walking to Qin Feng's side, Queen Mother Earth looked at the jade-yellow treasure box with a slightly reluctant expression. After a moment, she placed the treasure box in front of Qin Feng. By the way, many readers said that there were some mistakes in some words and asked the author to correct them. Here is to clarify that the author can't change these chapters, but you can change them. The method is, if you find a word wrong, click on it and don't put it down. After a few seconds, a small error correction window will pop up. Click on it and follow the steps. Chapter 11:14. Indeed, in terms of savagery, the Divine Tree continent was more like the primordial age than the Spirit Sea continent. The ground was made up of rich earth essence. Even the greenery on the oasis was made up of various half-spirit trees. The water in the small lakes was a famous type of spirit water. In terms of cultivation, the laws of heaven and earth here were directly exposed to the Supreme's divine senses. It was undoubtedly easier to cultivate here than in the Spirit Sea continent. High-level experts were naturally more likely to appear. The only flaw was the lack of luck and providence. The laws of heaven and earth here were incomplete, so a true demon god couldn't appear. However, opportunities for connate items to appear here were obviously more frequent than in the vast Spirit Sea continent. He opened the jade yellow box. A ball of light yellow connate earth essence appeared in front of Qin Feng. Creak creak. Seeing that the box was opened, the connate earth essence turned into a ball of yellow light and shot out of the box. It obviously had extremely high spirituality. At the same time, a ball of yellow divine light swept toward Qin Feng, followed by a heavy pressure that felt like thousands of mountains. Connate earth essence divine light? Qin Feng was slightly surprised. Connate earth essence divine light was a terrifying ability that was born when the connate power was circulated to the extreme. It wasn't inferior to any heaven rank laws. However, if that's all, you can't escape from my five-finger mountain. Qin Feng sneered and pointed his finger. The void froze, and the ball of connate earth essence that was trying to escape from the jade box suddenly froze in the void. Even the brilliant power was completely frozen. With a wave of his sleeve, the laws of heaven and earth in the chaotic divine world poured down, turning into a huge invisible vortex that emitted dazzling rays of light. Gulp! The invisible connate earth essence entered the vortex. What a huge amount of world power! I'm afraid it has already advanced to the divine kingdom. At the side, they felt the profound and mysterious aura in the invisible vortex. Yi Ding and Queen Mother Earth looked at each other and were secretly shocked. In the chaotic divine world, the connate earth essence fell into it and immediately merged with a huge mountain in the center of the chaotic divine world. The chaotic mountain. This was a precious treasure that Qin Feng condensed from the 5 elements essence qi in the world. There were even 5 elements gods being nurtured within. Over the years, it had gradually assimilated into the primal chaos world of God, receiving nourishment from the power of the world. It was like the backbone of the world, connected to the earth, the sky, and countless supreme treasures of the 5 elements. The chaotic mountain had faintly become another suppressing treasure of the primal chaos divine world. The 5-colored brilliance circulated. As soon as the innate earth spirit fell into the world of chaos, it turned into a yellow light and disappeared into the world of chaos. Visible to the naked eye, the 5-colored light expanded and turned into a terrifying vortex that pierced through the world membrane. Outside the primal chaos membrane, a massive 5-colored vortex was formed. The suction force exploded out, and the dense primal chaos energy in the endless void surged into the chaotic mountain. It could be seen with the naked eye that the entire chaotic mountain was like an inflated balloon swelling up. It became even more majestic and towering. Most importantly, Qin Feng discovered that the chaos world of God was able to automatically convert the chaos energy, giving birth to innate earth element energies, and transforming them into various types of earth energies. Countless types of acquired earth energy flowed through the earth veins, causing the entire chaotic continent and even the 7 great elemental realms to undergo a rebirth. In fact, the innate 5 elemental yuan qi was extremely important. It was similar to the existence of human bones. Qin Feng closed his eyes and sensed. The earth veins and spirit veins in the chaos world of God were strengthened by another level. They were originally delicate and weak, but now they were thick and sturdy. What a pity, There's only one type of innate earth element energies. Qin Feng felt that it was a pity. There were many types of innate earth element energies, and the innate earth element energy was only one of the more common types. However, another type of innate energy was born in the chaos world of God. The chaos world of God had once again taken another step towards a higher level. Moreover, Qin Feng estimated that any random tribe on the Divine Tree continent could take out an innate item like the innate earth spirit. It was enough to show that there was no lack of innate items on the Divine Tree continent. The chaos world of God would definitely have great progress here. There might even be a chance to raise the chaos world of God by 2 levels, the primal chaos realm. Qin Feng opened his eyes, and with a thought, the earth around him undulated with his thoughts. Control. The chaos world of God had given birth to the innate earth element energy. Qin Feng had also comprehended a part of the earth laws, and could control the earth to a limited extent. However, to Qin Feng, this was an ability of little value. Shifting his gaze, Qin Feng's gaze landed on Yi Ding at the side. Queen Earth had been gone for a long time. Junior brother Qin Feng, when are we leaving the primordial tree tribe to look for the eastern wilderness divine treasure? Yi Ding touched his nose, looking a little depressed. Haven't you always liked Queen Earth? Why are you willing to leave? Qin Feng looked at Yi Ding in surprise. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like Yi Ding's style. Yi Ding coughed dryly, seemingly unwilling to talk about Queen Earth. Junior brother, let's think about how to find the eastern wilderness divine treasure. After entering the Divine Tree continent, I realized that we can no longer go back. Unless we find the eastern wilderness divine treasure, we might be trapped here until we die. After hearing Yi Ding's words, Qin Feng's expression turned serious. He had felt this ever since he entered the Divine Tree continent. His connection with the Spirit Sea continent had become extremely weak, as if they were separated by endless time and space, and there was no way to return. Qin Feng had a feeling that unless he broke through to the King realm here and obtained the Eastern Wilderness divine treasure, he might not have a chance to leave. Do you have any ideas? After pondering for a while, Qin Feng looked at Yi Ding. According to what I know, the two-world abyss should be divided into 6 layers and 6 continents around the divine tree in the center. Each continent is isolated, and the experts who enter each continent have a chance to find the final key to enter the Eastern Wilderness divine treasure. However, we have too few clues about the key, and we don't know what it is. Yi Ding glanced at Qin Feng. However, I guess that the so-called central ancestral god should know something. Qin Feng nodded to himself. This was similar to what he thought. However, according to Qin Feng's experience in exploring the ruins, there were only a few ways to find the key to the divine treasure. The first was the physical object. The Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor had placed a key object somewhere on the continent, allowing many experts to search for it. If they found the key object, they would have a chance to enter the divine treasure. The second way was to fight for hegemony and obtain the recognition of heaven and earth. The recognition of heaven and earth was the key to the Eastern Wilderness divine treasure. The third way was a special condition. This required more guessing of the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor's thoughts and his past behavior. However, all in all, the central ancestral god was indeed a big clue. There's more later. Chapter 11:15. In the tall Earth God Temple, it was majestic and solemn. In the center, Queen Mother Earth looked at Qin Feng and Yuan Shi in amazement. You want to go to the holy city to find the ancestor god? Looking at Queen Mother Earth's astonished gaze, Qin Feng frowned. Why, is there a problem? On the side, Elder Yuan Shi quickly waved his hand and said, Your Honor, don't misunderstand. Actually, to find the ancestor god, you don't need to go to the holy city. The ancestor god is everywhere. When it came to the ancestor god, The only elder of the primordial tree tribe had a respectful and reverent expression. Qin Feng couldn't help but suspect that this old guy was a fanatic of the ancestor god for him to say such words. You two don't have to doubt, Elder Yuan sure is telling the truth. Queen Mother Earth looked at the two of them, especially when her watery eyes fell on Qin Feng. In our divine tree continent, as long as you build a temple, you can communicate with the ancestor god, send down the fire seed, and then get the favor of the ancestor god's will. Queen Mother Earth's beautiful eyes fell on Qin Feng. Yi Ding looked at Queen Mother Earth's watery eyes and cursed secretly. He had flirted with her for the whole day yesterday, and it could be said that he had done everything he could to please her. In the end, this Queen Mother Earth was still cold, aloof, and disdainful. Today, when they suddenly met, not only did she secretly flirt with him, but her intentions were also obvious. The contrast in treatment. He rubbed his nose with a gloomy expression. Qin Feng ignored Queen Mother Earth's watery and charming appearance and muttered to himself. You mean, as long as we build a temple, according to the sacrificial ceremony, we can communicate with the ancestor god's will in the unseen world and get guidance. Wasn't this asking him to play a tribal war game in this place that was very similar to the ancient land? Seeing that Qin Feng didn't care about her charms at all, Queen Mother Earth's eyes were a little disappointed. That's roughly what I mean, but there's one more point, that is, only some tribes with more than 1,000 people are qualified to build a temple. Otherwise, even if a temple is built, it can't form a totem fire seed. That's not right, your tribe doesn't seem to have 1,000 people. Yi Ding interrupted. Elder Yuan sure said with a gloomy expression. Our tribe has declined. At our peak, our primordial tree tribe had more than 10,000 warriors. After saying that, he changed the topic. Furthermore, our great earth giant tribe is different from the other tribes. 1,000 of us are only against ordinary Xiantian humans. One of our great earth giant tribe is equivalent to 50 ordinary Xiantian humans. As long as we have 20 giants, we can build a shrine and establish a tribe. I see. Qin Feng pondered for a moment and said, however, we are invaders from the outside world. Will this happen? Queen Mother Earth smiled sweetly, and her beautiful eyes descended onto the black-clothed youth. That won't happen. Our primordial tree tribe has a long history, and we have seen many invaders from the outside world. As long as we establish a tribe on the land, ignite a fire seed, and set up a totem, we will be recognized by the ancestor god's will, wiping out the invader's identity. Become a part of the 100 races of the divine tree continent. Qin Feng raised his eyebrows and thought to himself, why does this rule sound like the totem rule from the immemorial era? Could it be that there is an existence on this continent that has truly initiated the rule offering? In the immemorial era of the Spirit Sea continent there was also the Totem era. During the Totem era, many Fey gods and Xiantian lifeforms filled the land. At that time, the martial Tao rules had yet to appear, and living beings did not know how to cultivate. Some people were enlightened by fire seeds and learned some special abilities of Xiantian Fey and Xiantian lifeforms. As a result, they established tribes and worshipped them for generations, giving birth to totems. Cultivators obtained fire seeds and used the power of totems to dominate the land. The stronger the tribe, the stronger the power of totems, and the closer they were to the heaven and earth rules. Qin Feng's eyes flickered as he guessed inwardly, if that's the case, then it's obvious that the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor set up such a grand scheme for someone beside him, someone under his command, to become a lord. According to Qin Feng's knowledge, the rule offering was only done when a top-notch demon god was about to become a chief god. In that case, it all made sense. He had captured so many human ancestors and even experts from the immemorial 100 races. It was very likely that he was setting up this scheme. Whether it was the immemorial 100 races, the human ancestors, or the experts who entered the two-world abyss to search for treasures, they were all pawns of the great eastern wilderness. Whether they could find the great eastern wilderness divine treasure or not, everyone would contribute their strength to the totem rules. Qin Feng's expression was a little ugly. This speculation was very much in line with the great eastern wilderness style of doing things. It was most likely correct. Qin Feng was not angry. As a weakling, he should have the awareness of being a pawn. The important thing was whether he could obtain benefits under the premise of preserving his life. That means the primordial tree tribe also has its own Ting totem fire seed. Of course. Without the symbol of their own Ting totem fire seed, they are savages who can be killed or enslaved by any major forces. There's such a barbaric rule? Yi Ding was greatly surprised and even more so, worried. In such an ancient environment, his strength wasn't considered too high. Barbaric? Qin Feng looked over. Queen Mother Earth shook her head. This has always been the rule of the Divine Tree continent. There are tribes merging and bloody battles all the time. According to the ancient rules, if one can establish a tribe with 1,000,000 members, he will be qualified to be favored by the ancestor god and eventually ascend to the upper realm. A tribe with 1,000,000 members? That shouldn't be difficult, right? Yi Ding smiled. In the Spirit Sea continent, cities with 1,000,000 members could be found everywhere. Not difficult? Queen Mother Earth sneered. Take our sandbar, for example. There are more than 40 tribes, but none of them have more than 10,000 members. Even the Bronzebeard tribe, which is said to be able to unify this sandbar, has only 3,000 to 4,000 members. Yi Ding retorted. Didn't you say that an Earth giant is equivalent to 50 Khanate humans? Queen Mother Earth rolled her eyes. You wish. That's only relative to the initial temple. That's another thing. You want to take a shortcut? Daydreaming. Qin Feng lowered his head. He did not care about the number of people, but he also knew the difficulty. A tribe with only 3,000 to 4,000 people had a fifth-order powerhouse. If it was a tribe with 10,000 people, 100,000 people, or even 1,000,000 people, it would be difficult. Obviously, the existence in the tribe must be comparable to a king. Difficult? It was almost as difficult as ascending to the sky. But it's not impossible. Qin Feng's eyes were filled with coldness. Since he could only follow the rules set by the great emperor of the eastern wilderness, then he would really go all out. Let's go, Qin Feng said to Yi Ding. Where to? Yi Ding looked at Qin Feng in surprise. Go rob a tribe. Qin Feng's expression was calm. Rob a tribe? Rob who? Yi Ding's eyes lit up. His gaze fell on Queen Mother Earth, Elder Yuan Shi, and a huge strange flame in the temple. He was slightly excited. He had some bad intentions. Queen Mother Earth and Elder Yuan Shi were shocked. They quickly looked at the two of them warily. What are you looking at? The primordial tree tribe is so thin. What's there to rob? Let's rob the Bronzebeard tribe. I'll be the chief and you'll be the deputy chief. There's more later. Chapter 11:16. Watching the two of them leave, Queen Earth and Origin Stone had complicated expressions. They didn't know if they should be glad or sad. However, they were certain that regardless of whether the Bronzebeard tribe or Qin Feng was finished, they would definitely continue to target the Primordial Tree tribe. Instead, they hoped that Qin Feng and Origin Stone would win. At least, with the relationship between the Primordial Tree tribe and the two of them, they wouldn't exterminate the Primordial Tree tribe. If it were the Bronzebeard tribe, it would be different. At this moment, the Bronzebeard tribe wasn't quiet either. The temple. This was the most solemn and important core of a tribe. It enshrined the tribe's inheritance. Fire seed. The totems enshrined by the earth giants were similar. Most of them were demon gods under the ancestor god. Ancestor of the earth. Ancestor of the Earth was the ancestor of the primordial Earth giants. Naturally, its fire seed was formed by a fire seed that contained the Earth attribute. Any Earth giant could receive the fire seed from the temple after reaching adulthood and begin the first bloodline awakening. Ancestor of the Earth. In the temple, there was an extremely majestic and huge god figure. It held an earth staff in one hand and an alms bowl in the other. An abnormally ferocious snake coiled around its body. The fire seed was in the alms bowl in its hand. In fact, Ancestor of the Earth didn't have a high status among the earth gods. Among the Spirit Sea continent's mythological gods, the number one earth god was Mother Earth, the primordial earth god. Next were the Earth Monarch, King of Myriad Realms, Earth War God, Nine-Elephant Mother Earth, and other high-level Earth demon gods. As for the so-called Ancestor of the Earth giants praised him as the number one Earth God King and the only Earth God. In fact, he was just a loser among the Earth gods. However, even if he was loser, he was still extremely amazing in the eyes of the Earth giant. Anyone who dared to blaspheme this god would be killed. The night shrouded the endless yellow sand. The cool moonlight shone from the sky, and the yellow sand seemed to have been washed white by frost and snow. Outside the tall temple, the stone pillars burned with inextinguishable sun fire. The fire burned fiercely, illuminating the night. The temple was bustling with activity, but it was filled with a deathly silence. Everyone was looking around the temple. Above the divine temple, in addition to the tribal fire seed on the statue, there were lights on the surrounding stone walls. The lights were so bright that they seemed to have a strange vitality. That was where the tribe's soul kindling was stored. Every flickering yellow flame represented an expert of the Bronzebeard tribe. Below each flame was a stone tablet, engraved with the name of each expert of the tribe. To be able to ignite their soul spark and place it in this divine temple was undoubtedly a matter of great honor and status for every earth giant. However, today, everyone had a mournful expression as if their entire family had died. Every single one of their faces was devoid of color. A tall and burly earth giant wearing golden armor was expressionlessly looking at the extinguished oil lamps in the temple. The soul lamps of Tong Yi, Tong Yuan, Tong Kun, and Tong Shan, the four famous 14th-level powerhouses of the Bronzebeard tribe, were among them. Among them was the third prince, Tong Yen, whose soul lamp had also been extinguished. At this time, many experts were silent. Everyone knew that the king of the earth was brewing a thunderous fury. On the side, a top 14th-level elder slightly considered his words and bowed. Your Majesty, before the third prince left, he said that he was going to the Primordial Tree tribe to reclaim the Primordial Tree tribe's queen. Before leaving, he personally appointed the four generals Tong Yi, Tong Yuan, Tong Kun, and Tong Shan to accompany him, as well as hundreds of Stone Lion Knights. Logically speaking, even if the Silver King of the Silver Tribe personally took action, it would be impossible to kill the third prince and his people. The Bronzebeard King's expression was indifferent. He turned his gaze and stared straight at the elder who spoke. The elder complained in his heart. He looked at the other elders around him, whose expressions were flickering, and continued speaking in a low voice. According to General Tong Yun, the guardian of the temple, half a day after the third prince left, the soul lamps of the four generals Tong Yi, Tong Yuan, Tong Kun, and Tong Shan extinguished almost simultaneously. As soon as this was said, many experts of the Bronzebeard tribe could not help but stir. Many people were shocked, but more of them were doubtful and in disbelief. Although the four generals Tong Yi, Tong Yuan, Tong Kun, and Tong Shan were not the best among the 14th-level experts present, they were not useless. Their soul lamps extinguished at the same time. Didn't that mean that the four of them were killed at the same time? Elder Tong Quan, Elder Tong Yun must be mistaken. An expert could not help but ask. In the crowd, an earth giant spoke in a hoarse voice. Nonsense, I'm a 14th-level expert. How can I be mistaken? Tong Yun coughed dryly and continued speaking. After a few breaths, the third Prince Tong Yan's soul lamp extinguished as well. As soon as he finished speaking, all the experts in the village looked at the expressionless Bronzebeard King. Bronzebeard King slowly raised his head and glanced at the experts around him. A moment later, his gaze fell on Tong Yun. "You mean that Yen died in the hands of outsiders?" Tong Yun's eyes flickered. "That's right, Your Majesty. We have limited experts in the Sand Continent. Other than the Silver King, no one else has the ability to kill the four generals Tong Yi, Tong Yuan, Tong Kuan, and Tong Shan in such a short time. Only some outsiders who have appeared in the past half a month have this ability. Furthermore, the Silver King is well aware of how important His Highness the Third Prince is to you. He would never risk a life-and-death battle with the Bronzebeard tribe to harm His Highness. Only those unscrupulous invaders would be so fearless." After that, Tong Yun bowed to the Bronzebeard King and left without another word. "Well, since that's the case, inform the Holy City. Let the experts from the Holy City handle it." Bronzebeard King sighed. "Yes." Tong Yun nodded. With a wave of his hand, someone beside him immediately moved. "Also, since Yen was still thinking about the primordial tree tried before he died, send someone to accompany him so that Yen won't be lonely." "Yes." Tong Yun's forehead was covered in sweat. Bronzebeard King nodded and was about to leave when he suddenly stopped and turned around. "By the way, Queen Mother Earth is quite beautiful. What's more, she has the royal bloodline. This is very precious. We can't waste it." He narrowed his eyes and pondered for a moment before saying, "Let's keep Queen Mother Earth, Yuan Yun. Many people like her. Let them have children. If we don't let her give birth to thousands of little royals, it'll be a waste. That's right, let her live until she dies. How can I let her live happily after she rejected my son?" Gulp. Hearing that, many people gulped as cold sweat soaked their backs. Bronzebeard King's viciousness and cruelty had not changed. Chapter 11-17. This is the Bronzebeard tribe? Qin Feng looked at the huge oasis in front of him. It was like a green basin. Even under the night sky, it was exceptionally lively. Thousands of miles of oasis were towering trees. They were a type of spirit root that looked like a banana tree. Dozens of people could easily stand on top of the tree leaves. The earth and wood element's spiritual energy was extremely dense. The jade-like spirit light was so bright in the night. One could even feel the rhythm of life when they closed their eyes. In the depths of the banana tree forest, an ancient stronghold peeked out from the leaves. Although there were no restrictions or formations here, Qin Feng and Yi Ding could feel that this oasis was no weaker than the average saint domain above the spiritual sea. There were a lot of Xiantian Dao here. Good place. Yi Ding couldn't help laughing. "It's going to be ours soon." Qin Feng grinned. In this basin, there were many rare spirit roots, especially the underground spirit veins. They were like underground dragon veins, young and full of vitality. The most precious of all were the several types of Xiantian wood element spiritual energy. If they could be integrated into a divine country, it would be greatly beneficial. "Junior brother Qin Feng, do you want to do some damage first?" Yi Ding was eager to give it a try. "There's no need for that. Let's go straight to their door and kill that rank 15 Bronzebeard King with lightning speed." Qin Feng wanted to ensure that this oasis was preserved to the greatest extent. Yi Ding nodded. In a flash, he appeared above the Bronzebeard village. His eyes turned sharp as he shouted, "Bronzebeard King, come out and die!" The loud sound was like a thunderclap exploding in the sky above the Bronzebeard village, buzzing. "Who dares to behave atrociously in front of the Bronzebeard village? Arrogant! You're courting death!" Under the night sky, the originally quiet Bronzebeard stockade suddenly became noisy. Many people rushed out of the tall stockade in a fit of anger. Qin Feng closed his eyes and scanned the entire village with his divine sense. His powerful divine sense swept across the entire village like waves. 4 or 5 auras of level 14 and above were like torches in his divine thought. However, he quickly locked onto one of the auras that resembled a yellow sun. Bronzebeard Village's only level 15 powerhouse. This being seemed to have sensed Qin Feng's terrifying aura, which was far beyond that of a normal level 15 being. It was almost at the peak of the middle celestial level. Like a frightened rabbit, its aura disappeared in the blink of an eye and disappeared into the depths of the earth. It melted like water, and its aura instantly disappeared without a trace. He ran away. That level 15 Bronzebeard King actually abandoned the Bronzebeard village and ran away alone. You do have some eyesight, but how can I let you run away? Qin Feng chuckled. His divine sense sank into the ground. Even though the thick earth qi was blocking it, his divine sense seemed to be able to pierce through time and space, and directly locked onto the rapidly fleeing figure. Empyrean laws, elemental strike. A pitch-black ball of light appeared in Qin Feng's hand. In an instant, it was like a black light that pierced through the earth. Bang! Thousands of feet of earth split open, and the fleeing figure was hit with a loud bang. However, at the moment of impact, a khaki-colored armor suddenly burst out of the ground with a burst of brilliance. It was an unusually tall and sturdy earth giant. A level 15 aura exuded from his body, and the rich Empyrean laws seemed to materialize, forming an extremely intense pale yellow brilliance. He was like a huge pale yellow sun. So you have a turtle shell on you. Qin Feng's gaze swept across Bronzebeard King's armor. It was a top second-tier Archean defensive armor. Who are you, sir? Why are you causing trouble for my Bronzebeard village? Bronzebeard King looked around gloomily. Sensing the spatial law fluctuations on Qin Feng's body, he knew there was no way he could escape. Although he was only a level 14 sovereign of space, he had no problem locking onto him. Rather than that, he might as well go all out. All right, Bronzebeard King, you don't have to pretend anymore. You should already know my identity as an intruder. If I'm not wrong, you should still be wondering if I killed your son. Qin Feng stared at Bronzebeard King calmly. In his eyes, this level 15 powerhouse was just like a prey. He was admiring the final struggle of this prey. He continued unhurriedly, I can tell you that you guessed right. Your son died in my hands. Not just him, but you too will die today. Bronzebeard King's eyes flashed with hatred, and a level 15 Earth celestial law appeared on his body instantly. Celestial Wrath of Earth. A surge of celestial law energy appeared like a khaki-colored brilliance, resonating with the countless earth veins in the surroundings. An extremely powerful force blasted towards Qin Feng. Interesting. But it seems like you've only comprehended one type of earth celestial law, right? You're only a level 15 lesser celestial. Your celestial law can't hurt me at all. Celestial law, water curtain lotus. With a wave of his sleeve, a gigantic black lotus appeared. It was as black as ink and strangely beautiful. The yellow divine light that was powerful enough to shatter mountains and rivers landed on the lotus, but it could not penetrate the gigantic black lotus. This was the fifth type of celestial law that Qin Feng had comprehended after refining half of the innate water indestructible divine light from the thousand leaves water god's black lotus. The more celestial laws a celestial being comprehended, the stronger he would be. Every type of celestial law was a supplement to his own divine Sunday. Once the celestial law was perfected, the divine Son would turn into a real Godhead, and one would ascend to godhood. However, there was no limit to the number of celestial laws. Under a single law, there would be many celestial laws. Although each complete celestial law would deepen one's understanding of the law, it was very difficult to perfect it. Only with the blessing of a god seat would one have the chance to perfect the divine sun. Bronzebeard King had only comprehended one type of earth celestial law, while Qin Feng had comprehended 5 types of water celestial law. Bronzebeard King was no match for Qin Feng at all. Qin Feng's face was indifferent and indifferent. A light blue lotus flower emerged from the pitch-black water light in his hand and lightly pierced through time and space. Like a faint and blurry brilliance, it was extremely fast. Celestial law, life drain. Bronzebeard King sensed the terrifying danger coming from the unseen world. A look of horror flashed across his eyes. He paused, turned into a yellow light, and plunged into the depths of the earth. He wanted to use the earth to escape. The light blue lotus followed him into the depths of the earth. As if it had grown eyes, it pierced through the air and landed on the yellow light that was escaping. Like a seed that had found a suitable soil, it suddenly grew roots and plunged into the depths of the earth. No! In the depths of the earth vein, Bronzebeard King was shocked and furious. His body trembled, and the light blue lotus on his body shattered. But at a speed visible to the naked eye, countless roots pierced out of his body, and the rich vitality in his body dried up in the blink of an eye. His flesh and blood began to dry up, and even the power of his divine soul was being sucked away by the countless light blue lotuses on his body. This was the ability of Qin Feng's celestial law, life drain, after he further refined the water celestial innate divine light of the 1,000 leaves water god's black lotus. It was no longer just a simple absorption of vitality, but could be transformed into many forms of life. Its power did not increase, but it showed the wonders of creation and vitality. There's more to come. Chapter 11:18. A lifelike blue lotus flew out from the withered body of the Bronzebeard King. The life essence was extremely rich and pure. Qin Feng looked at the light blue lotus formed purely by the life force of the Bronzebeard King and smiled. Heaven rank law, life absorption. If it was before, he could only absorb the life force of the lotus. But now that his realm had reached a higher level, he could extract the life force of these powerhouses and give it to others. After being purified and purified by this life lotus could be said to be extremely pure. It was comparable to some of the top life spirit fruit. Not only could it increase holy power, but it could also extend one's life. With a point of his finger, the light blue lotus gave birth to 6 lotuses full of life force. They sank into the chaotic world of gods and headed in several directions. One of them fell into the hands of Shirhan, who was cultivating under the holy church mountain in the light elemental realm. The other one fell into the dark elemental realm, where a beautiful woman in black was cultivating on the ancient abyss tree. The woman in black opened her eyes and glanced at the extremely rich light blue lotus of life. She snorted slightly and casually took it and swallowed it. Another one fell into a huge nest on top of the ancient evil tree. In the nest, a strange bird that looked like a dark golden crow opened its eyes. It let out a strange cry and swallowed the lotus without any hesitation. The black feathers on its body became even hotter, like black flames. Another one fell into the depths of the water elemental realm. In the extreme north, in the frost, an ancient tree that looked like a frost parasol tree stood proudly here. This ancient tree had a nest. This nest seemed to be built with countless spiritual roots and wood. A huge snow-white bird that looked like a phoenix was inside with its eyes closed. Its body emitted waves of cold air, as if it was exchanging with the water elemental realm's origin. As the blue lotus fell, the giant bird opened its eyes and felt the familiar aura. It let out a joyful cry and immediately swallowed the lotus and began to refine it. At this moment, many powerhouses on the chaotic world looked up and sensed the direction of the 5 or 6 meteors. They were envious. Above the oasis, a group of earth giants looked at Qin Feng, who fell from the void in a daze. The group of earth giants had just come out of the village and found that their king had fallen. At this moment, the group of Earth Giants' eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Junior brother, I didn't think that not only did you break through to the 15th level, but your water origin source laws are also close to the middle celestial level. Yi Ding's figure flew down as well. He could not help but feel envious. Qin Feng's eyes flickered. Generally speaking, as long as one grasped 5 celestial laws of nature, one would be at the pinnacle of a lesser celestial. If one could control 6, then they would be a middle arcana master. The Eightfold Daos was at the pinnacle of middle celestial. If one could control more than 9, they would be at the king realm. For a 5th-level Empyrean realm expert, the more Empyrean laws they controlled, the more powerful they would be. Some experts with inheritances knew about it. Once he had more than 6 types of Empyrean laws, he could begin to combine them and fuse them into one. With each additional heavenly law, one's strength would increase exponentially. This was extremely terrifying. It was also the dividing line between the middle and lesser celestial realms. Qin Feng already had 5 types of water Empyrean laws. As long as he comprehended one more, he would be able to fuse them into a brand new and even more powerful Empyrean law. With 5 types of Empyrean laws, he already had a strength close to that of a middle celestial. This change was extremely obvious. Previously, Qin Feng did not take the initiative to reveal his aura, so Yi Ding did not detect it. Now that Qin Feng did not conceal it, Yi Ding's eyes lit up instantly. Not only Yi Ding, but the remaining 5 level 14 experts of the Bronzebeard tribe also turned pale. The difference in strength between a level 14 and a level 15 was too great. A giant expert stood out and said in a low voice, "Who exactly are you? Why did you do this to the Bronzebeard tribe? Aren't you afraid of the holy city's reprimand?" Qin Feng's gaze swept across this giant. This giant had a ruddy complexion and white hair. He looked like he had already entered his old age. His figure was slightly shorter than the average giant. He held a giant staff, although he was similarly draped in beast skin. However, it was obvious that he had some status in the Bronzebeard tribe. He was one of the only 5 14th stage powerhouses. At the same time, Tong Yun was also the most senior expert of the Bronzebeard tribe. Qin Feng looked at Tong Yun indifferently. "Don't have any ulterior motives. Although the holy city is the sacred ground of the Earth Giants, I'm not afraid of the holy city." Qin Feng looked around at the many Earth Giants in the field. His eyes were suffused with a faint chill. "You might have guessed that we are the so-called invaders in your words. Then, you should also know that we need to establish our own tribe. Bah! We are the sacred Earth Giant tribe. We will never submit to hateful outsiders like you." An Earth Giant expert roared angrily. This was a young Earth Giant. His face was filled with anger and disdain. Many Earth Giants revealed expressions of hatred for a common enemy. The 5 level 14 Earth Giants in the lead were even more resolute. That Earth Giant became even more complacent as he looked at Qin Feng contemptuously. "Even if we die, we will never submit to you lowly insects." Qin Feng's gaze moved and landed on this young Earth Giant. "You will change your mind." Qin Feng sneered and grabbed with one hand at lightning speed. A trace of horror flashed across the young Earth Giant's face, and an illusory figure was pulled out from his body. A loud bang was heard. His figure fell to the ground with a loud crash. "Whoever takes a step forward will die." Many Earth Giants were furious. However, when they heard the cold words, their expressions changed and they instinctively stopped moving. The scene of Qin Feng easily killing the Bronzebeard King was still vivid in their minds. Not everyone was willing to die. Rumble! A dark cloud appeared in the sky. With a loud bang, a blue lightning bolt struck down from the sky. Shrill screams suddenly came from the void. Many Earth Giants trembled and felt a chill run down their spines. They subconsciously raised their heads and looked up. However, with just a glance, their unwillingness turned into fear. Cold. A long lightning bolt struck down from the void and struck the Earth Giant's Saint's soul that had been pulled out. The lightning bolt struck the Earth Giant's Saint's soul as if it was being cut into pieces by 1,000 knives. Every inch of the Saint's soul felt like it was being bitten by thousands of ghosts. The Earth Giant, who had been incomparably unyielding earlier, could not help but howl in pain. The dense lightning turned into lightning flames and burned him inch by inch. The scene was extremely terrifying. "Kill me, kill me! I beg you!" At this moment, an extremely shrill cry came from the Earth Giant's mouth. Seeing the fear on the faces of the Earth Giants, the black-clothed youth revealed a cruel demonic smile. "You don't have to worry about his safety. I won't be so cruel as to take the life of a young Earth Giant. That would be blasphemy to the ancestor of the Earth. This is only the beginning. I will set up a thunder punishment formation here. I guarantee that he will be able to survive for thousands of years without dying. Of course, consider this as me being merciful. If anyone still wants to resist to the end, I can also fulfill his wish." The group of Earth Giants turned pale. Almost everyone looked at the ground and did not dare to raise their heads. The Earth Giants were not afraid of death, but this kind of life was more painful than death. Qin Feng nodded and clapped his hands. "All right, things are perfect. Since no one objects, everyone should go and prepare. The new tribe is about to be established, and you will be the most glorious part of it. Don't cry, okay? You should be happy that I am the tribe leader. More later." Chapter 11:19. How could a group of Earth Giants laugh? Qin Feng signaled with his eyes. Yi Ding immediately nodded and stood up to lead some Earth Giants to rearrange, build the temple, and arrange the tribe's affairs. However, it was obvious that Yi Ding couldn't do it alone. "Perhaps I should summon the people of the Primordial Tree tribe." Qin Feng's eyes flickered. "But before that, I still have to appease these higher-ups." Qin Feng glanced at the group of Bronze Beard Village higher-ups that he had left behind. Pure coercion couldn't win over people's hearts. Using kindness and authority was the way of the king. At this moment, some of the higher-ups of Bronze Beard Village were looking at Qin Feng uneasily. They didn't know how this demon would torture them. The temple was the symbol of a tribe's establishment. Don't underestimate the temple. It wasn't an ordinary building. According to the information obtained from the Primordial Tree tribe, the temple was an important symbol of a tribe's prosperity. It had an ability that exceeded the expectations of ordinary people. It could suppress providence. That's right, it could suppress the providence of a tribe. It could form a special fire seed according to the strength of a tribe. The fire seed and the surname were of the same origin. This was very similar to the ancient times in Qin Feng's impression. The fire seed formed by the providence was naturally related to the strength of the tribe. According to the prosperity of the tribe, the fire seed was divided into 7 colors. The lowest grade was the gray fire seed. The 6th grade was the white fire seed. The 5th grade was the red fire seed. The 4th grade was the green fire seed. The 3rd grade was the golden fire seed. The 2nd grade was the purple fire seed. As for the 1st grade, no one had seen it before. However, it was rumored that the 1st grade fire seed was extremely mysterious and had incredible mysterious abilities that couldn't be understood. Generally speaking, the fire seed of each tribe, even if it was the same clan, would have different powers. They had different natures. Qin Feng had seen the fire seed of the Primordial Tree tribe. The fire seed of the Primordial Tree tribe was of the earth attribute. The fire seed could give ordinary earth giants the power of the earth. It was more intimate with the earth. Cultivating the earth attribute techniques and bloodlines would yield twice the results with half the effort. This was only the power of the gray fire seed. The white flame above was even more powerful and had even more abilities. Qin Feng had heard that some powerful fire seeds could produce abilities similar to a divine realm. Furthermore, the leader of a tribe could borrow the luck of the fire seed to comprehend the heavens and earth. His comprehension of the laws had increased. This was also what Qin Feng and Yi Ding coveted the most. A group of people went to build the shrine. The other group of people ran off to hunt and prepare offerings. When a tribe was established, sacrifices had to be made to the heavens, as well as to the ancestor gods. Only by gaining the approval of heaven and earth, and the approval of the ancestor gods could the tribe be considered to be truly born. Without the recognition of heaven and earth and the ancestor god, a tribe would only have the name of a tribe, but not the reality of a tribe. Finally, it was time to attend the ceremony. Attending the ceremony wasn't that important. It was just a supplementary condition. Whether or not there were people around to observe the ceremony and acknowledge one's status, it wouldn't affect anything. However, according to etiquette, Qin Feng still sent people to invite the surrounding tribes. This included the Primordial Tree tribe and the Silver tribe. However, in order to prevent these people from disappearing without a trace, each of them was rewarded with a restriction. If they ran away without permission, they would be punished so badly that they would beg for death. Everything was going on the right track. During this time, Qin Feng made some arrangements for the huge oasis. In Qin Feng's opinion, it was a waste for such a huge oasis to fall into the hands of the Bronzebeard village barbarians. The arrangements on the ground were too crude. The earth veins were blocked, and the spirit veins and spirit roots were arranged without any order. It was a waste of such a precious land. One had to know that the shrine was built on top of the spirit veins. Not only was it related to the tribe's providence, but it also had a lot to do with the earth veins and feng shui. A good earth vein could provide the tribe's fire seed with unparalleled power. If the Bronzebeard village could make full use of a good earth vein like this oasis, the fire seed's power would increase by at least several times. It was impossible for Qin Feng to kill the Bronzebeard king, who had the fire seed's power, so easily. Compared to the ignorant Bronzebeard village barbarians, Qin Feng, as a demigod array grandmaster, was naturally an expert. The huge spirit veins were opened up one by one, connected, and turned into a top-notch feng shui array formation. With this arrangement, the entire oasis was changing every moment. Once the central shrine returned and suppressed the terrain, it would become a true sacred realm. The Primordial Tree tribe. In the Primordial Tree shrine carved by the giant, Queen Mother Earth and Elder Yuan Shi had the same expression as they held the invitation. They thought that Qin Feng might defeat the Bronzebeard king and occupy the Bronzebeard tribe. However, they still found it hard to believe when they held the invitation letter. The famous Bronzebeard tribe had perished. "Your Highness, are we going?" Elder Yuan Shi was a little worried. Queen Mother Earth glanced at this elder. She knew what this elder was worried about. "I'm afraid the Yuan Shi tribe can't be saved. Unless we retreat from this sandbar." Queen Mother Earth sighed secretly. In fact, regardless of whether Qin Feng or Bronzebeard king won, the outcome was destined. The Primordial Tree tribe would still fall, unless the Primordial Tree tribe retreated from this sandbar. However, retreating from the sandbar was easier said than done. Not to mention the terrifying primordial monsters hidden under the yellow sand, it was hard to guarantee that other tribes wouldn't take advantage of the situation during the retreat. Such a migrating tribe would be a fat piece of meat in the eyes of some powerful tribes. If they encountered a raiding group formed by those invaders on the way, their fate would be even more miserable. "Go, we have to go." Queen Mother Earth made up her mind. "And we have to bring everyone in the tribe, young and old." "Your Highness, are you?" Elder Yuan Shi looked at his queen in a daze. He found it hard to believe and was a little unwilling. Queen Mother Earth's expression was firm and unquestionable. "Go and prepare." The Silver tribe. The Silver Tribe was famous for its unique spiritual roots. The silver jade bamboo had the appearance of silver. It was abnormally tall, and the bamboo shoots were like jade. At this moment, surrounded by a large patch of silver jade bamboo, many experts of the Silver Tribe gathered in the village of the Silver Tribe. In the middle of the hall, a pale golden invitation letter was placed on a spiritual wood table in front of the Silver King. Who is this heavenly king primordial beginning? How did he suddenly seize the foundation of the Bronzebeard King? Yeah, it's too strange. The Bronzebeard King is not weak, and he has the help of the White Fire Seed. He can be said to be a true level 15 expert. With the help of the tribe's Fire Seed, ordinary level 15 experts can't do anything to him. I've never heard of him. In the hall, many experts frowned as they looked at the invitation letter and discussed animatedly. I'm afraid that Heavenly King Primordial Beginning is another outsider. On the throne, the Silver King looked up and saw a silver-robed elder on the left sighing. This person can kill the Bronzebeard King and seize the foundation of the Bronzebeard King. I'm afraid our Silver Tribe will be in trouble from now on. It seems that we have to strike first to gain the initiative. Otherwise, our Silver Tribe will be in danger. Many experts of the Silver Tribe whispered to each other with uneasy expressions. On the throne, the Silver King's eyes flashed coldly. On the right, an expert stood up from his seat. Everyone, we have to strike first. Since this person can threaten the Silver Tribe, we can't tolerate him. We have to unite the surrounding tribes and kill him before he can react. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.